This is an unsolved problem, sir. No one has solved this. Making excuses, Mr. Carter? Or perhaps you were never meant to be in this seminar in the first place.
What if I told you that in October 2023, a 14-year-old boy solved a mathematical problem so complex that it made his Harvard-educated professor's hands shake? What if I told you that when asked where he learned it, the boy simply said, "I didn't learn it anywhere, sir. I just solved it"? And what if I told you that 3 months earlier, this same kid was riding a city bus to a school where students whispered he only got in because of affirmative action? Before you click away, hit that subscribe button because this story will challenge everything you think you know about genius, privilege, and what happens when extraordinary talent meets a world that wasn't built to recognize it. This is the true story of Isaiah Carter. And trust me, you've never heard anything like it. It's a Tuesday morning in October 2023, at Riverside Preparatory Academy, one of Illinois' most prestigious private schools. In an advanced mathematics classroom, Professor Theodore Whitmore stands frozen at the chalkboard. At 58 years old, Whitmore has taught at Princeton, published papers in prestigious journals, and has enough credentials on his wall to fill a small library. But right now none of that matters. Because behind him, sitting calmly at a desk in the third row, is a black teenager who just did something Whitmore thought was impossible. The equation on the board is one Whitmore assigned as an optional challenge, something he pulled from graduate-level theoretical mathematics. He didn't expect anyone to solve it. He certainly didn't expect anyone to solve it in under 20 minutes. And he absolutely didn't expect the solution to come from Isaiah Carter, the quiet scholarship kid who's only been at this school for 2 months. This is impossible, Whitmore whispers, his voice barely audible in the silent classroom. Where did you learn this? Isaiah looks up, his expression calm, almost confused by the question. I didn't learn it anywhere, sir. I just solved it. The room is so quiet you can hear the clock ticking. 28 students hold their breath. And Professor Theodore Whitmore stares at this 14-year-old boy like he's seeing a ghost. How did we get here? To understand that, we need to go back 3 months earlier, to a very different world. July 2023, Chicago's South Side, where Isaiah Carter lives in a small 2-bedroom apartment with his grandmother, Rose Carter. The apartment is clean, almost spotlessly so, but everything in it is old. The furniture has been reupholstered more than once. The photos on the walls go back decades, showing generations of a family that's fought hard for everything they have. Isaiah is 13, about to turn 14. He's lived with his grandmother since he was 7 years old, since the car accident that took both his parents. Rose is 67 now. She raised Isaiah on the pension she earned from 40 years of working in school cafeterias, serving lunch to other people's children while raising her own. The morning routine in that apartment tells you everything you need to know about Isaiah. He wakes up early, helps his grandmother with breakfast, organizes her medications by day and time, makes sure she takes them with food. They move around each other with practiced ease, a rhythm built over 7 years of being each other's whole world. But this morning Rose notices something. On the kitchen table next to Isaiah's cereal bowl is a thick textbook. Advanced Calculus. From the public library. Baby, Rose says, shaking her head with a smile, why you reading college books? You supposed to be enjoying summer. Isaiah looks up, a bit of milk on his lip. I'm enjoying it, Grandma. This stuff makes sense to me. Rose sits down across from him, studies his face. You got your mama's brains, she says quietly. She was smart like you. Too smart for this world sometimes. Isaiah goes quiet. His eyes drift to a photo on the wall. His mother in her college graduation gown. The degree she earned while working 2 jobs. The dream she had before a drunk driver ran a red light on a rainy November night. Here's a question for you. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something bigger but the world around you kept telling you to stay small? Drop a comment and let me know, because that's exactly what Isaiah was about to face. But Rose Carter didn't raise her grandson to stay small. And in May 2023 someone else noticed that too. Isaiah's 8th grade math teacher, Miss Patricia Henderson, had been teaching for 23 years. At 45 years old, she'd seen thousands of students pass through her classroom at Southside Middle School. The building was overcrowded, the resources were limited, the textbooks were outdated. But Miss Henderson showed up every single day because she believed in her students. And in all her years of teaching, she had never seen anyone like Isaiah Carter. She called Rose one afternoon in late May. Mrs. Carter, I need to talk to you about Isaiah's future. They met at the school in Miss Henderson's classroom after hours. Rose sat in a chair meant for children, folding her hands in her lap while Miss Henderson pulled out test scores, assignments, assessments. Mrs. Carter, she said, spreading the papers across her desk, Isaiah is gifted. Exceptionally gifted. He's scoring in the 99th percentile in everything. Perfect scores in mathematics. He's solving problems I have to look up how to solve. Rose nodded slowly. She'd always known Isaiah was smart. But hearing it laid out like this, seeing the numbers, it made it real in a way that scared her. He needs opportunities one can't give him here, Ms. Henderson continued. So I took the liberty of applying Isaiah for a full scholarship to Riverside Preparatory Academy. Rose's eyes widened. Those fancy schools, they're not for kids like us. That's exactly the thinking we need to change, Ms. Henderson said firmly. Isaiah belongs anywhere his mind can take him. And Mrs. Carter. She paused, making sure Rose was listening. You got it? Full scholarship. Tuition, books, uniform, everything. You would think this would be a moment of pure joy. And part of it was. But Rose Carter had lived 67 years in a world that didn't always make space for people who looked like her grandson. What if he doesn't fit in? She asked quietly. What if they treat him different? Miss Henderson didn't have an answer for that. Because they both knew the truth. Isaiah would be different there. The question was whether Riverside Prep would see that difference as something to celebrate or something to tolerate. August 2023. First day of 9th grade. Isaiah stands at the bus stop wearing his new Riverside Prep uniform, the one Rose had pressed so carefully the night before, hanging it on the back of the bathroom door so the steam from her shower would smooth out any wrinkles. His backpack is from Target, bought on sale. Inside are notebooks, pens, and a scientific calculator that Ms. Henderson bought him with her own money. The bus ride takes 47 minutes. From the south side to the suburb where Riverside Preparatory Academy sits on 40 acres of manicured lawns and historic buildings. When Isaiah gets off the bus, the first thing he sees is the student parking lot. BMWs, Mercedes, Teslas. Cars that cost more than everything his grandmother has ever owned combined. He walks through the main gates. The building is beautiful, almost overwhelming. Everything is polished, pristine, perfect. The hallways smell like floor wax and money. Students flow around him, laughing, catching up after summer break, comparing vacation stories about Europe and the Hamptons and places Isaiah has only read about. The demographics tell the story. Predominantly white students. A good number of Asian American students. A handful of Black and Latino students, scattered like punctuation marks in a very long sentence. Some of them are legacy students, children of doctors and lawyers and executives. Some of them, like Isaiah, are scholarship kids. You can usually tell the difference. Isaiah finds his locker. Number 247. He's working the combination when he hears voices behind him. Hey, are you lost? The scholarship kids usually stick together. Isaiah doesn't turn around. He opens his locker, starts putting his things inside. But he can feel them watching him. Brett Hawthorne, blonde hair, expensive watch, the kind of confidence that comes from never having to worry about anything. Madison Chin, designer bag, manicured nails, whispering something behind her hand. Tyler Morrison, legacy student, third generation at Riverside, already wearing his grandfather's class ring. Brett laughs at something Madison said. Isaiah closes his locker and walks away. His first class is Advanced Algebra 2 with Mr. Raymond Cooper. Cooper is 35, energetic, seems genuinely excited about math. He does icebreakers, asks students to share something interesting about their summer. When he gets to Isaiah, he pauses, glances down at his roster. Isaiah Carter? Cooper says, smiling. I saw your placement test. Very impressive. Looking forward to having you in class. A few students turn to look. Isaiah nods, says thank you quietly, feels his face getting warm. In the back row, Brett leans over to Tyler. Probably affirmative action, he mutters, just loud enough. Isaiah stares at his desk. He's been at Riverside Prep for exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. And he already knows this is going to be harder than any equation he's ever solved. 3 weeks into the school year, September 2023, and Isaiah Carter is doing something that nobody at Riverside Preparatory Academy expected. He's excelling. Not just passing, not just getting by, excelling. His English teacher writes notes on his essays praising his analysis. His history teacher asks him to lead class discussions. And in mathematics? Isaiah isn't just at the top of his class. He's somewhere beyond it, operating on a level that Mr. Cooper has only seen a handful of times in his entire career. So Cooper does what any good teacher would do. He recommends Isaiah for something special. Isaiah, there's a program I want you to consider, Cooper says one afternoon, keeping Isaiah after class. Professor Whitmore teaches an advanced mathematics seminar. It meets twice a week after school. I won't lie to you, he's demanding. Some would say brutally demanding. But I think you're ready. Isaiah has heard about this seminar. It's legendary at Riverside. Only 8 students. All upperclassmen. These aren't just the smart kids. These are the elite math students, the ones competing for spots at MIT and Caltech and Princeton. The ones who've been groomed for this since they were in elementary school. I'm only a freshman, Isaiah says. I know, Cooper replies. But I've been teaching for 12 years and I know talent when I see it. You belong in that room. If Isaiah had known what was coming, he might have said no. But he didn't know. So he said yes. The seminar meets in a small classroom on the 3rd floor of the mathematics building. When Isaiah walks in for the first session, he immediately understands he's entered a different world. The other 7 students are juniors and seniors. They look at him with curiosity, some with confusion. Who is this freshman? What is he doing here? Then Professor Theodore Whitmore enters and the room goes silent. At 58 years old, Whitmore carries himself like academic royalty. British accent, perfectly tailored suit, posture so straight it looks painful. His credentials are ridiculous. Degrees from Cambridge and MIT, author of 3 mathematics textbooks that are used at universities across the country, papers published in journals that most people can't even understand the titles of. At Riverside Prep, Whitmore is treated like a celebrity. Parents brag about their children being in his seminar the way other parents brag about their kids making varsity. Whitmore sets his leather briefcase on the desk with deliberate precision. He surveys the room, making eye contact with each student. When his eyes land on Isaiah, they pause for just a moment longer than the others. This seminar is not for the casual student, Whitmore begins, his voice carrying an accent that makes everything sound more authoritative. We will explore mathematics at a collegiate level. If you cannot maintain the pace, you will be asked to leave. I have no interest in wasting time with those who cannot keep up. He looks directly at Isaiah when he says this. Isaiah feels it like a spotlight. The first class focuses on number theory. Whitmore writes problems on the board, asks complex questions, pushes students to explain their reasoning. Isaiah raises his hand several times. Each time he answers correctly. Each time Whitmore's response is the same, correct but obvious. Or, yes, though that's the most basic approach. Or simply, adequate. The other students start to notice. When they answer, Whitmore engages with them, asks follow-up questions, nods approvingly. When Isaiah answers, the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. After class, as students are packing up, Whitmore's voice cuts through the shuffling. Mr. Carter, a word. Isaiah approaches the desk. The other students file out and suddenly the room feels very small. Mr. Carter, is it? Yes, sir. Whitmore removes his glasses, cleans them with a cloth from his pocket. I see you're a 9th grader. This class is typically for juniors and seniors who have demonstrated sustained excellence. Mr. Cooper thought I was ready, sir. Whitmore replaces his glasses, looks Isaiah up and down like he's evaluating a piece of furniture. We'll see. Academic charity doesn't serve anyone in the long run, Mr. Carter. If you're here because of some misguided attempt at inclusion rather than merit, you'll find yourself overwhelmed very quickly. The words hang in the air like smoke. Isaiah knows exactly what Whitmore is implying. He wants to respond, wants to defend himself, but he swallows it down. I understand, sir. Good. Dismissed. Isaiah walks out of that classroom with his backpack feeling like it weighs 100 pounds. 2 weeks pass. Isaiah continues to excel in the seminar. He completes every assignment, answers every question, keeps pace with students who are 3 and 4 years older than him. But Whitmore never acknowledges it. Not once. A senior named Marcus Chin solves a problem? Excellent work, Mr. Chin. A junior named David Ross asks an insightful question? Very perceptive, Mr. Ross. Isaiah does the same thing? Silence. Or worse, that dismissive, adequate, that makes Isaiah feel like he's barely passed instead of gotten it exactly right. The other students notice. Most don't say anything. But one does. Sarah Kim is a 17-year-old senior, Korean-American, brilliant mathematician who's already been accepted early decision to Stanford. After one particularly tense seminar where Whitmore essentially ignored 3 of Isaiah's contributions, Sarah catches up with him in the hallway. Don't take it personally, she says. Whitmore's tough on everyone at first. Isaiah adjusts his backpack, doesn't make eye contact. Seems tougher on me. Sarah pauses. She wants to deny it, but she can't. Yeah, she finally says. Maybe. But your work is good. Really good. Don't let him intimidate you. It's a small kindness, but it means everything. The next seminar session, Whitmore assigns a problem set. 10 problems, each one progressively more difficult. He gives them 1 week to complete it. These aren't textbook problems. These are the kind of challenges that make college students cry. The seniors in the room look at the assignment with resignation. They know they'll be spending hours on this, probably collaborating, definitely struggling. Isaiah takes the problem set home. He sits at the kitchen table in his grandmother's apartment, spreads out his notebooks and goes to work. Rose watches him from the doorway, sees that look of intense concentration that reminds her so much of his mother. 2 days later, Isaiah has finished all 10 problems. He doesn't wait until the deadline. He goes to Whitmore's office hours, walks into that office that looks like a museum of academic achievement. Books stacked on every surface, framed awards covering the walls, photographs of Whitmore with famous mathematicians whose faces Isaiah recognizes from textbooks and documentaries. Whitmore is behind his desk, reading something, making notes with a fountain pen. He barely looks up. "Mr. Carter. You're early." "I finished the problem set, sir." Now Whitmore looks up. Skepticism crosses his face like a shadow. "The entire set?" "Yes, sir." Isaiah hands over the papers. Whitmore takes them and Isaiah can see it. That expression of doubt, that assumption that there's no way this 14-year-old scholarship kid could have actually done this work. Whitmore flips through the pages. His expression shifts. Surprise quickly replaced by something else. Something that looks almost like suspicion. "These solutions are advanced," Whitmore says slowly. "Where did you find them?" The question lands like a slap. "I didn't find them, sir. I worked through them. These techniques aren't taught at this level." Whitmore's voice has an edge now. "Did someone help you? Another student? A tutor?" Isaiah feels his jaw tighten. "No, sir. I worked alone." Whitmore sets the papers down carefully, aligns them with the edge of his desk. "I'll review these carefully, Mr. Carter. Academic integrity is paramount at Riverside." "Paramount. I trust you understand that." The implication couldn't be clearer if Whitmore had just called him a cheater to his face. Isaiah stands there, his hands balled into fists in his pockets, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes, sir. I understand." "Good. You may go." Isaiah walks out. His hands are shaking. Not from fear. From rage. 3 days later, Isaiah is called back to Whitmore's office. But this time he's not alone. Dean of Students Dr. Margaret Stevens is there, 50 years old, stern expression, arms crossed. The moment Isaiah walks in and sees her, his stomach drops. "Mr. Carter, please sit down," Dean Stevens says. Isaiah sits. The chair feels like an electric chair. Whitmore speaks first. "Mr. Carter, I've reviewed your problem set thoroughly. I have concerns." Dean Stevens leans forward. "Professor Whitmore believes these solutions may not be your original work." And there it is. Out in the open. The accusation Isaiah knew was coming from the moment Whitmore looked at his papers with that expression of disbelief. "I didn't cheat," Isaiah says. His voice is quiet but firm. Whitmore removes his glasses, holds them up to the light, finds a smudge that isn't there, cleans them anyway. "Then explain to me, Mr. Carter, how a 9th grader, barely 14 years old, employed techniques from graduate-level mathematics. Techniques that require years of study to master." "I read," Isaiah says, and now there's heat in his voice. "I go to the library. I watch lectures online. I teach myself." "From what sources specifically?" Isaiah lists them. Books he's checked out from the public library, the university library he takes 2 buses to reach. Online lecture series from MIT OpenCourseWare. YouTube channels run by professors. Mathematics papers he's downloaded and worked through even when he didn't understand every word. Whitmore and Dean Stevens exchange a look. Isaiah can't read it, but it makes his heart beat faster. "Mr. Carter," Whitmore says, standing up and moving to the whiteboard in his office. "I'm going to give you a problem. Right now. You'll solve it here in front of us. If you can demonstrate this level of mathematical ability in real time, that will satisfy my concerns." He writes a complex calculus problem on the board. It involves integration techniques, differential equations, concepts that most high school students never see. "You have 15 minutes. Isaiah stands. His legs feel unsteady. He takes the marker from Whitmore's hand and his own hand is shaking, not because he can't solve this problem, but because he's being treated like a criminal. Like someone who needs to prove his innocence. He's shaking from anger and humiliation and the unfairness of having to demonstrate his worth in a way that nobody has ever asked Brett Hawthorne or Madison Chin or any of the legacy students to demonstrate theirs. But he solves it anyway. Methodically, step by step, showing his work clearly. He finishes in 8 minutes. Whitmore checks it. His lips press into a thin line. Correct, he finally says. But this proves nothing conclusive. You could have memorized solutions to similar problems. Dean Stevens, to her credit, intervenes. Theodore, this seems sufficient. The boy solved it. I want to be certain we maintain our standards. And Isaiah can't hold back anymore. The words burst out of him like water from a broken dam. You mean you want to make sure a kid who looks like me deserves to be here? Silence. Complete, absolute silence. You could hear dust settling. Whitmore's face hardens like concrete. That's quite an accusation, Mr. Carter. Is it? Isaiah's voice is louder now, months of small slights and dismissals and that constant feeling of being watched and doubted all coming out at once. You've never questioned anyone else's work like this. Sarah Kim turned in her problem set the same day I did. Did you accuse her of cheating? Did Marcus Chin have to solve problems in front of you to prove he didn't get help? That is quite enough, Whitmore says, his accent making the words sound even more severe. Dean Stevens stands up. Isaiah, that's enough. Professor Whitmore, I think we're done here. Isaiah, your work is accepted. You're dismissed. Isaiah grabs his backpack and walks out. He makes it halfway down the hallway before he has to stop and lean against the wall because his whole body is shaking. If you've made it this far in this story, hit that subscribe button right now because what happens next is going to blow your mind. And I have a question for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to prove yourself twice as hard just to be seen as half as good? Share your story in the comments. I read them all. Word spreads like wildfire. By the next morning, everyone at Riverside Prep has heard some version of what happened. The details get twisted, exaggerated, weaponized. By lunchtime, the story going around is that Isaiah Carter, the scholarship kid, got caught cheating in Professor Whitmore's seminar. Brett Hawthorne and his friends make sure everyone hears about it. In the hallway between classes, loud enough for Isaiah to hear, scholarship boy got caught cheating. Typical. They let these kids in and they can't handle the work, so they cheat. Madison Chin, scrolling through her phone, doesn't even look up. I heard he copied everything from the internet. Tyler Morrison, leaning against his locker. My dad said this is what happens with affirmative action. They're not prepared for this level of academics. Isaiah tries to ignore it. He keeps his head down, goes to his classes, does his work. But it's everywhere. In the cafeteria, he can feel people looking at him. In the library, conversations stop when he walks by. Even students who were neutral before, who barely noticed him, now look at him differently. There's a stain on him now, and it doesn't matter that Dean Stevens cleared him. The accusation is what people remember. Sarah Kim tries to defend him. In the hallway, when she hears Brett and his friends, he didn't cheat. Dean Stevens cleared him. Maybe you should get your facts straight before running your mouth. Brett just laughs. Sure, they cleared him. They have to. But everyone knows. The damage is done. In the seminar, Whitmore's treatment of Isaiah shifts from dismissive to openly contemptuous. When Isaiah answers a question correctly, Whitmore's response is always the same. Adequate, I suppose. When Isaiah asks a question, trying to understand a concept more deeply, Whitmore sighs like Isaiah is wasting his time. That's quite basic, Mr. Carter. Perhaps you should review the fundamentals before attempting advanced material. The other students notice. Some look uncomfortable. Most stay silent. Only Sarah consistently speaks up, and even she can only do so much against a professor with Whitmore's authority. One evening in late September, Isaiah comes home to his grandmother's apartment. He's trying to hide it, trying to act normal, but Rose Carter didn't raise her grandson without learning to read him like a book. Baby, what happened? She asks the moment he walks through the door. Isaiah drops his backpack, sits down at the kitchen table, and everything comes out. The accusation, the interrogation, having to prove himself in a way nobody else had to prove themselves, the rumors, the mockery, Whitmore's constant dismissal. All of it pours out, and by the end, his voice is breaking and there are tears he's been holding back for weeks. Rose sits down next to him, pulls him close the way she did when he was 7 years old and the world had just taken his parents away. Some people in this world, she says softly, they can't stand to see folks like us succeed. Makes them question everything they believe about themselves. Every lie they told themselves about why they have what they have and we have what we have. Maybe I should just go back to my old school, Isaiah says. Miss Henderson would take me back. I could just be normal. Rose pulls back, looks him in the eye. No. You belong there just as much as anyone. More because you earned it twice. Once with your brain, twice by putting up with their nonsense. Your mama didn't work herself to exhaustion getting that degree so her son could quit when things got hard. And I didn't raise you to back down from people who think they're better than you. That night, Isaiah lies in his bed, staring at the ceiling. He thinks about quitting. Really, seriously considers it. Would be so easy. Just transfer back, go to a school where nobody questions whether he belongs, where nobody accuses him of cheating just because his brain works differently than they expected. But then he thinks about his mother. The photo of her in that graduation gown. The stories Rose has told him about how she worked 2 jobs while taking classes, how she studied on buses and during lunch breaks, how she never gave up even when the world told her she should. He thinks about what she would want him to do. And Isaiah Carter makes a decision. He's not leaving. He's not quitting. He's going to stay at Riverside Preparatory Academy, and he's going to prove himself. Not because Whitmore or Brett or anyone else deserves that proof, but because he knows who he is and what he's capable of. He just doesn't know yet that in a few weeks he's going to solve a problem that will make Professor Theodore Whitmore's hands shake. That he's going to do something that will force everyone who doubted him to reconsider everything they thought they knew. But that moment is coming. And when it arrives, nothing at Riverside Prep will ever be the same again. October 2023. The leaves are changing colors outside Riverside Preparatory Academy, and inside, an announcement goes up on the mathematics department bulletin board that makes Isaiah Carter stop in his tracks. The Illinois State Mathematics Competition. It's one of the most prestigious high school math competitions in the country. Schools send teams of 5 students to compete against the best mathematical minds in the state. Winners get scholarships, recognition, their names on plaques that hang in school hallways for decades. For students like those at Riverside Prep, this competition is a stepping stone to MIT, Caltech, Princeton, the places where future mathematicians are made. And Professor Theodore Whitmore will be selecting Riverside's team from his seminar students. Isaiah stares at that announcement like it's a lottery ticket. This is it. This is his chance. Not just to prove he belongs in Whitmore's seminar, but to prove he belongs at Riverside Prep. To shut down every whisper, every doubt, every accusation. He imagines standing on that stage with the team, solving problems, showing everyone exactly what he's capable of. So he does what he's always done. He studies. But this time it's different. This time he's obsessive about it. Every free moment, Isaiah is practicing competition-style problems. At lunch, he's working through old state competition exams he found online. After school, before the seminar meets, he's in the library going through problem sets. At home, at the kitchen table where his grandmother can see him, he's surrounded by notebooks and textbooks and scribbled calculations. Rose watches her grandson disappear into these numbers. She sees him skip dinner, sees him still awake at midnight with the lamp on in his room, sees the dark circles forming under his eyes. And one night she's had enough. Baby, you barely eating, barely sleeping. This math competition worth your health? Isaiah doesn't look up from his work. Grandma, I need to do this. I need to show them. Show them or prove to yourself? The question hangs there. Isaiah still doesn't look up because he doesn't have an answer. Or maybe because the answer is both, and that feels like admitting something he's not ready to admit. Selection day arrives. The seminar meets after school and the energy in the room is different. Tense. Everyone knows what's coming. Whitmore enters with his typical precision, sets his briefcase down, turns to face the class. I've made my selections for the Illinois State Mathematics Competition, he announces. The team will consist of Sarah Kim, Marcus Chin, David Ross, Jennifer Walsh, and Christopher Trent. 5 names. All juniors and seniors. Students who have been in Whitmore's orbit for years. Students he trusts. Students he believes represent Riverside Prep appropriately. Isaiah's name is not called. He sits there feeling like he's been punched in the stomach. Around him, the selected students exchange excited smiles, congratulations whispered back and forth. Sarah Kim catches Isaiah's eye, and her expression says everything. She knows this isn't right, but what can she do? The class ends. Students file out, the 5 team members already talking about practice schedules. Isaiah waits until everyone else has left. Then he approaches Whitmore's desk. Sir, I'd like to try out for the team. Whitmore is packing his briefcase, doesn't look up. The team is selected, Mr. Carter. But you didn't hold tryouts. You just picked people. Now Whitmore looks at him, and there's that expression again, that mix of annoyance and condescension that Isaiah has come to recognize. I selected students I trust to represent Riverside Prep appropriately. Students with proven track records. I can do this, Isaiah says, and he hates how his voice sounds, not confident but pleading. Give me a chance. Whitmore sighs, the kind of sigh that says this conversation is an inconvenience he doesn't have time for. But then he pauses and something crosses his face. An idea. Fine, he says slowly. Tomorrow after school. I'll give you a qualifying test. If you score above 90%, I'll consider adding you to the team. 90%. Isaiah's mind races. That's a high bar, but it's not impossible. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, Mr. Carter. This should settle the matter conclusively. Isaiah leaves. He doesn't catch the way Whitmore mutters under his breath, almost to himself, a small smile on his face. This should settle it. The next day feels like the longest day of Isaiah's life. He goes through his classes barely hearing anything his teachers say. His mind is on that test, on what Whitmore might ask, on that 90% threshold that stands between him and a spot on the team. By the time the final bell rings and he makes his way to Whitmore's classroom, his hands are sweating and his heart is pounding like he's about to run a marathon. The classroom is empty except for Whitmore. Isaiah sits at a desk in the middle of the room. Whitmore approaches with a packet of papers, sets it down in front of Isaiah with careful deliberation. You have 2 hours, Whitmore says. This is a previous year's state competition final round. The questions teams of 4 students face together. Let's see how you handle them alone. And with that, Whitmore sits at his desk and begins grading papers, occasionally glancing up to watch Isaiah work. Isaiah opens the packet. The first few problems are manageable, complex, yes, but the kind of thing he's been practicing for weeks. He works through them methodically, showing all his steps, double-checking his answers. But then, about halfway through the packet, the difficulty ramps up dramatically. Problem 7 involves advanced topology, concepts that aren't typically taught until graduate school. Problem 9 requires knowledge of abstract algebra, mathematical structures that most high school students never even hear about. These aren't just hard problems. These are problems designed to be beyond high school curriculum, even for gifted students. Isaiah stares at problem 7. His mind races. He doesn't know the formal theorems, doesn't have the technical vocabulary. But he understands patterns. He understands logic. So he approaches it the only way he knows how. He thinks it through from first principles, makes logical leaps based on what he does know, builds bridges between concepts he's taught himself from different books and different lectures. The clock on the wall ticks. Whitmore occasionally looks up from his work, watches Isaiah struggle, and something like satisfaction crosses his face. 2 hours pass. Whitmore stands, walks over, collects the test from Isaiah's desk. I'll grade this tonight, he says. Don't expect much, Mr. Carter. These problems are designed to challenge entire teams of our state's best students. Isaiah leaves the classroom feeling uncertain. On the bus ride home, he can't stop replaying the problems in his mind. The ones he wasn't sure about. The leaps of logic he made that might have been wrong. That night, lying in bed, he runs through his solutions over and over, wondering if he did enough. The next seminar session, Professor Whitmore seems pleased with himself. There's almost a bounce in his step as he enters the classroom. He sets his briefcase down, turns to the class, and before he starts the day's lesson, he calls Isaiah to the front of the room. Mr. Carter, I graded your qualifying test. The room goes completely silent. Every student turns to look. Sarah Kim sits forward in her seat. Brett Hawthorne and Tyler Morrison exchange glances, barely suppressing smiles. They know what's coming. Isaiah walks to the front of the room. His legs feel like they're made of concrete. You scored. Whitmore pauses for effect. 87%. The number lands like a stone. Isaiah's heart sinks into his stomach. 87. Just 3 points below the threshold. Just below the threshold I set, Whitmore continues, his voice carrying a note of finality. Unfortunately, you won't be joining the competition team. But you should be proud of your effort, Mr. Carter. It was a difficult test. In the back row, Brett leans over to Tyler, voice low but just loud enough. Knew he couldn't hang with the real students. Madison Chin scrolls through her phone, not even trying to hide her disinterest. Sarah Kim's face shows something different, sympathy mixed with anger. Isaiah walks back to his seat. Every step feels like walking through water. He sits down, stares at his desk, feels the humiliation wash over him like a wave. Not just that he failed, but that he failed publicly. That Whitmore called him to the front of the class specifically to announce his failure in front of everyone. But then Sarah's hand shoots up. Professor Whitmore, I have a question. Whitmore looks annoyed at the interruption. Yes, Miss Kim? What was the average score on that test when it was given at the state competition? Whitmore pauses. It's just a second, but everyone sees it. He wasn't expecting this question. I don't recall offhand. I do, Sarah says, her voice clear and steady. I competed that year. I was on the Riverside team. The average score for an entire team of 4 students working together was 72%. Isaiah scored 87% working alone. The classroom erupts in murmurs. Students turn to each other, whispering. Marcus Chen's eyes widen. Even Brett Hawthorne looks surprised. Whitmore's face tightens like someone just pulled a string. Regardless, Miss Kim, I set a standard and I must maintain it. It would be unfair to the other students to lower the bar after the fact. You didn't lower the bar, Sarah says, and there's steel in her voice now. You raised it impossibly high and then acted surprised when someone nearly cleared it anyway. That's enough, Miss Kim. We have a lesson to get through. But the damage is done. Everyone in that room knows what just happened. Everyone saw Whitmore get called out. And Isaiah, sitting at his desk, feels something shift inside him. Not relief, the humiliation is still there, but something else. Recognition. Someone saw what happened. Someone said it out loud. After class, Sarah catches up with Isaiah in the hallway. That was BS and everyone knows it. Isaiah shakes his head. Doesn't matter. He's not going to let me on the team. I could have scored 100% and he would have found another reason. Then we go over his head. What do you mean? Sarah's jaw is set in determination. I mean, this isn't just about you anymore. This is about a teacher abusing his power. And I'm not going to watch it happen and do nothing. If you're still watching, drop a like and subscribe because this story is about to take a turn that nobody saw coming, least of all Professor Theodore Whitmore. And here's my question for you. Have you ever had someone in your corner when you needed it most? Someone who stood up for you when you couldn't stand up for yourself? Tell me about it in the comments. Within 2 days, Sarah Kim has organized a meeting with Dean of Students Margaret Stevens. And she doesn't come alone. She brings Marcus Thompson, a black senior who's been in Whitmore's seminar for 2 years, and Jennifer Walsh, a white junior who's been one of Whitmore's favorite students. 3 voices, 3 different perspectives, all telling the same story. They sit in Dean Stevens' office, wooden desk, diplomas on the wall, a window overlooking the quad where students are enjoying the October sunshine. Stevens listens to them carefully, her face neutral, giving nothing away. Sarah does most of the talking. She explains the qualifying test, the impossible standard, the public humiliation. She talks about how Whitmore has treated Isaiah since day one, the constant dismissiveness, the accusation of cheating, the pattern of behavior that anyone paying attention can see. Marcus backs her up with his own observations. I've been in his seminar for 2 years, he says. I've watched him treat Isaiah differently than everyone else. Different standards, different expectations. It's not subtle. Jennifer Walsh, blonde hair pulled back, field hockey captain, the kind of student who's never had to think twice about whether she belongs anywhere, speaks last. I didn't want to believe it at first, she admits. Professor Whitmore has always been great to me. But after watching what happened with the qualifying test? That wasn't fair. That wasn't about maintaining standards. That was about keeping Isaiah out. Dean Stevens sits back in her chair. These are serious allegations. Professor Whitmore is a respected educator with an impeccable record. And Isaiah is a gifted student being sabotaged, Sarah says, not backing down. With all due respect, Dean Stevens, we're not making this up. We're not exaggerating. We're telling you what we've witnessed. Stevens looks at each of them. She's been in education for 27 years. She's seen a lot of things and she's learned to trust her instincts about when students are telling the truth. I'll speak with Professor Whitmore, she finally says. But I can't promise anything will change. That's all we're asking, Sarah says. Just speak with him. The meeting between Dean Margaret Stevens and Professor Theodore Whitmore happens later that same day, in Stevens' office with the door closed. Whitmore sits across from her desk, perfectly composed, his suit immaculate, his expression one of mild curiosity. Theodore, I'm concerned about this situation with Isaiah Carter. Whitmore's expression doesn't change. What situation would that be, Margaret? The qualifying test for the mathematics competition. Several students have expressed concerns about the fairness of your evaluation. My academic standards are not negotiable, Whitmore says, his British accent making the words sound even more final. I will not compromise excellence to satisfy some misguided notion of inclusion. Stevens leans forward. An 87% on that test is exceptional. You and I both know it. That was a final round state competition exam designed for teams, and he scored 87% alone. I set a clear threshold at 90%. Would you have me move goalposts to accommodate certain students? The phrase hangs in the air like smoke. Stevens catches it immediately. What do you mean by certain students? Whitmore realizes his phrasing, tries to backtrack. I mean students who haven't demonstrated consistent excellence over multiple years, who haven't proven themselves at this level of competition. Isaiah has a perfect GPA, Stevens says, her voice taking on an edge. Every single one of his teachers has sent me emails raving about his performance. His English teacher says he's the best writer she's had in 5 years. His history teacher wants him to enter an essay competition. And his math teacher, Mr. Cooper, specifically recommended him for your seminar because he said, and I'm quoting here, Isaiah Carter is the most naturally gifted mathematics student I've encountered in my entire career. So tell me, Theodore, what exactly is your concern? Long pause. Whitmore sits perfectly still, but something in his eyes hardens. He's young. Immature. This competition requires poise and maturity. The ability to perform under pressure in a way that reflects well on Riverside Prep. He's 14, Stevens says. The same age as the other freshmen. Younger than most sophomores. We've sent 14-year-olds to this competition before. Your age concern doesn't hold water. Another pause. Whitmore realizes he's running out of reasonable objections. Stevens leans back in her chair, and her voice becomes very calm, very measured. Theodore, I'm going to be direct with you because I respect you and your contributions to this school. Add Isaiah Carter to the competition team, or I'll need to review this matter more formally. And I think you know what that review would look like. Whitmore's jaw tightens. He's not used to being challenged, certainly not by administrators. His entire career has been built on his reputation, his authority, his ability to make decisions that nobody questions. Fine, he says, the word coming out clipped. He can be an alternate. If one of the team members falls ill or... He'll be a full team member, Stevens interrupts. 6 students instead of 5. Consider it expanding the team to maximize our chances of winning. Whitmore stands, and for a moment Stevens thinks he might refuse entirely, might walk out. But he's too smart for that. He knows when he's beaten, at least temporarily. As you wish, Margaret. I hope this doesn't compromise our performance at the competition. I'm sure it won't, Stevens says. Isaiah will be an asset to the team. Give him a chance to prove it. After Whitmore leaves, Stevens sits alone in her office for a long moment. She's won this battle, forced Whitmore's hand. But she's also aware that she's made an enemy of one of the school's most influential teachers. She thinks about Isaiah Carter, that quiet 14-year-old who keeps his head down and does exceptional work despite everything being stacked against him. She hopes this helps him. She hopes it doesn't make things worse. In his own office, Theodore Whitmore sits at his desk, staring at the wall covered in awards and achievements and photographs with famous mathematicians. He's seething. Not just angry, humiliated. He's been teaching for 33 years. He's published papers, written textbooks, trained students who've gone on to win international competitions. And now he's being told by an administrator that he has to put a 14-year-old scholarship kid on his competition team. His resentment toward Isaiah Carter, which was already substantial, deepens into something darker. Something more determined. Isaiah wanted to be on the team? Fine. He's on the team. But being on the team and succeeding on the team are two very different things. Whitmore opens his desk drawer, pulls out a folder of practice problems for the team. He begins selecting the most difficult ones, the ones that even his best seniors struggle with. If Isaiah Carter wants to compete, he's going to have to earn it every single day. And if he fails, when he fails, Whitmore will be there to document every mistake, every shortcoming, every piece of evidence that he was right all along. The next seminar session, Whitmore makes an announcement before class begins. There's been a change to the competition team roster. Isaiah Carter will be joining as a 6th member. The reaction is mixed. Sarah Kim smiles openly. Marcus Thompson nods approvingly. Brett Hawthorne and Tyler Morrison exchange looks of disbelief. The other team members, David Ross, Christopher Trent, Jennifer Walsh, look uncertain. Isaiah, sitting at his desk, feels his heart hammering in his chest. He got on the team. He actually got on the team. But as he looks at Whitmore's face, at that tight smile that doesn't reach his eyes, Isaiah realizes something. This isn't over. This isn't Whitmore accepting him or believing in him. This is Whitmore being forced to do something he doesn't want to do. And that might be even more dangerous than being kept off the team entirely. Practice begins tomorrow, Whitmore says, his eyes finding Isaiah's across the room. I expect full commitment from all team members. This competition reflects on Riverside Prep's reputation, and I will not accept anything less than excellence. Isaiah nods. He got what he wanted. He's on the team. Now comes the hard part, proving he deserves to be there. Not to Whitmore, who will never be convinced, but to himself, to his grandmother, to his mother's memory. The Illinois State Mathematics competition is 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to prepare. 6 weeks for Isaiah to show everyone what he's capable of. 6 weeks for Whitmore to try to break him. And neither of them knows it yet, but in 6 weeks, something is going to happen that will change everything. A problem is going to appear on a blackboard, and Isaiah Carter is going to solve it in a way that makes the impossible look easy. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Right now, it's late October 2023, and Isaiah Carter is walking home from Riverside Prep with his backpack full of practice problems and his head full of determination. He stops at a corner store, uses some of the money his grandmother gave him for lunch to buy her favorite candy, butterscotch discs that she always keeps in a bowl on the coffee table. When he gets home, Rose is watching her game shows. She looks up when he walks in, sees something different in his face. "What happened, baby?" Isaiah sits down next to her on the couch, hands her the candy. "I made the team, Grandma. I'm competing in the state mathematics competition." Rose's face breaks into the biggest smile Isaiah has seen in weeks. She pulls him close, kisses his forehead. "That's my boy. That's my brilliant, beautiful boy. Your mama would be so proud." And in that moment, sitting on that old couch in that small apartment, Isaiah allows himself to believe it might be true. That maybe he does belong. That maybe he is good enough. That maybe, just maybe, everything is going to work out. He doesn't know yet about the problem that's coming. The one that will make Professor Whitmore's hands shake. But that moment is approaching, inevitable as mathematics itself. And when it arrives, nothing will ever be the same. Isaiah Carter is on the competition team. He's achieved what seemed impossible just weeks ago. But if you think that's where the story gets easier, you haven't been paying attention. Because being on Professor Theodore Whitmore's team when Whitmore doesn't want you there is like being invited to a party where the host spends every moment trying to convince you to leave. Practices are held twice a week after school in Whitmore's classroom. The other team members, Sarah Kim, Marcus Chin, David Ross, Jennifer Walsh, and Christopher Trent, are actually welcoming. Especially Sarah, who goes out of her way to include Isaiah in team discussions, to make sure his ideas are heard. The students aren't the problem. Whitmore is the problem. Every solution Isaiah presents gets picked apart. Sloppy notation, Mr. Carter. Every approach he suggests gets dismissed. That's not how we do it here at Riverside. During team strategy sessions, when the group is discussing how to divide problems during the competition, how to play to each member's strengths, Whitmore acts like Isaiah isn't even in the room. He'll ask for input from the other 5 students, nod thoughtfully at their suggestions, and completely ignore Isaiah's raised hand. It's exhausting. Not the mathematics, Isaiah can handle the mathematics. It's the constant psychological warfare, the daily reminder that he's unwanted, that he's only here because an administrator forced Whitmore's hand. Isaiah perseveres because he doesn't know what else to do. He shows up to every practice. He completes every problem set. He stays quiet and does the work. One practice session in early November, the team is working through a particularly difficult problem. It's the kind of problem that requires creative thinking, not just technical knowledge. They've been at it for 20 minutes trying different approaches, hitting dead ends. Isaiah is sitting at his desk, working through the problem in his notebook, and suddenly he sees it. A solution using a non-standard approach, something unconventional but elegant. He hesitates. His hand hovers over his notebook. Should he share it? What if Whitmore shoots it down? What if he's wrong? What? Isaiah, you have something? Sarah notices the look on his face, the way he's staring at his notebook like he's discovered something. All eyes turn to him. Whitmore looks up from his desk with that expression of skeptical patience. Isaiah swallows. I think there's a way to approach this using modular arithmetic. If we reframe the problem in terms of congruence classes. He stands, walks to the board, starts writing. The other students watch. As Isaiah works through the solution, explaining each step, you can see the moment when they get it. When the elegance of the approach becomes clear. It's not the textbook method. It's not the way Whitmore would have done it. But it works. Beautifully. That's brilliant, Marcus Chin says when Isaiah finishes. David Ross is nodding, working it out in his own notebook. Yeah, that's way more efficient than what we were trying. Sarah is smiling like a proud parent. And Whitmore? Whitmore examines the board with the expression of someone who's just bitten into something sour. Unconventional, he finally says. But I suppose it's technically correct. That's it. That's all Isaiah gets. The other students solved problems that day too, and Whitmore praised them. Called their work excellent and sophisticated. But for Isaiah? Technically correct. Marcus leans over to Isaiah as they're packing up. Man doesn't give you an inch, does he? Isaiah just shakes his head. What is there to say? November arrives, and with it comes the fall parent-teacher conferences. For most Riverside prep families, this is routine. Parents drive up in their luxury cars, spend 30 minutes hearing about how exceptional their children are, then go out to dinner at expensive restaurants. But for Rose Carter, this requires taking a day off work, something she rarely does because every day she doesn't work is a day she doesn't get paid. She puts on her best church dress, the navy blue one she wears on Easter and special occasions. She takes 2 buses to get to Riverside Prep, arrives early because she's nervous about being late. Walking through those hallways, Rose feels like she's entered a different world. Other parents are everywhere in their expensive clothes, designer handbags, talking casually about their vacation homes in Aspen and which colleges their children are considering. Rose clutches her purse, bought at Target 5 years ago, and keeps her head high. Isaiah's schedule has her meeting with each of his teachers for 15-minute conferences. His English teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, gushes about his essays. Mrs. Carter, Isaiah is exceptional. His analysis is college level. I've taught for 18 years, and I can count on one hand the students who've impressed me this much. His history teacher, Mr. Patterson, tells her Isaiah should enter a state essay competition. He has a gift for understanding historical context and making connections. Truly gifted. His science teacher, Dr. Chin, shows her Isaiah's test scores, perfect or near perfect on everything. He asks the kind of questions that make me think. That's rare. Rose sits through these meetings feeling a mix of pride and something like vindication. Her grandson, the boy she raised on a cafeteria worker's pension, is thriving at this prestigious school. He belongs here. Everyone can see it. Then she has her meeting with Professor Theodore Whitmore. Whitmore's classroom is on the 3rd floor. Rose climbs the stairs, the elevator feels too intimidating, too unfamiliar, and finds his room. He's sitting at his desk, and when she enters, he stands with polite formality. Mrs. Carter, please sit. Rose sits in the chair across from his desk. Whitmore settles back into his own chair, folds his hands. Thank you for coming. I understand you had to take time from work. I did. But my grandson's education is important. Of course. Whitmore opens a folder with Isaiah's name on it. Well, Mrs. Carter, Isaiah is adequate in my seminar. The word hangs there. Adequate. After 4 teachers told her exceptional, and gifted, and brilliant, Whitmore offers adequate. Rose's voice is careful, controlled. Adequate? His other teachers say he's exceptional. Mathematics at this level requires more than just intelligence, Whitmore says, his British accent making each word sound more authoritative. It requires discipline, maturity, proper training. The kind of foundation that develops over years of rigorous study. My grandson has all those things. Whitmore shifts slightly in his chair. Of course. I merely mean that students from different educational backgrounds sometimes struggle with our rigor here at Riverside. The transition can be quite challenging. Rose Carter has lived 67 years. She's worked in school cafeterias for 4 decades, serving food to children while listening to teachers and administrators talk in code. She knows exactly what Whitmore is saying without saying it. Her eyes narrow. Different backgrounds? You mean poor? You mean black? Whitmore's composure cracks for just a second. I certainly didn't say that, Mrs. Carter. You didn't have to. Rose's voice is steady now, all nervousness gone. I've been hearing what you're not saying my whole life, Professor. I know the words people use when they don't want to say what they really mean. She stands up, and even though Whitmore is taller, even though he has all the degrees and credentials and authority, in this moment Rose Carter towers over him. My grandson earned his place here, she says. He didn't get charity. He didn't get a handout. He earned it with his brain and his hard work. And he's going to succeed with or without your approval. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a bus to catch. She walks out. Doesn't wait for a response. Leaves Whitmore sitting at his desk with his mouth slightly open, shocked into silence by this elderly black woman who just saw right through him and called him on it. That night, back in their apartment, Rose tells Isaiah about the meeting. She doesn't sugarcoat it. She tells him exactly what Whitmore said, what she said back. When she's done, Isaiah is quiet for a long moment. Then he asks, "Why does he hate me so much, Grandma?" Rose sits down next to him, takes his hand. "That man's scared of you, baby. You know why? Why? Because you're everything he tells himself you can't be. Smart, capable, disciplined, brilliant. All the things he's built his career on believing only certain kinds of people can be. And that terrifies him. Because if you can be all those things, then everything he believes about the world, about who deserves what, about who belongs where, all of it falls apart. Isaiah looks at his grandmother, this woman who raised him on almost nothing, who worked 40 years in jobs that never paid her what she was worth, who never let bitterness destroy her kindness. What should I do? Keep being exactly who you are. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Don't let him make you small. 3 weeks before the Illinois State Mathematics Competition, November 2023, there's a seminar session that everyone who was there will remember for the rest of their lives. Professor Whitmore is in a particularly foul mood. Nobody knows why. Maybe something happened in his personal life, maybe he's just decided today is the day to escalate things. Whatever the reason, the moment he walks into the classroom, everyone can feel it. The air feels charged, dangerous. They're covering advanced calculus, differential equations. Complex material, but nothing the students in this seminar haven't handled before. Whitmore poses a problem to the class, something challenging but solvable. This is a classic problem, he says. Who can solve it? Sarah raises her hand, goes to the board. She gets partway through the solution, then gets stuck. Whitmore walks her through the rest, his tone patient, even encouraging. Yes, Miss Kim, exactly right. Well done. Then he looks directly at Isaiah. There's something in his eyes that makes Isaiah's stomach clench. Mr. Carter, why don't you try the next one? Isaiah stands, walks to the board. Whitmore turns to write a new problem. But as he writes it, as the symbols and numbers appear on the board, Isaiah feels his blood go cold. This isn't from their curriculum. This isn't even from a typical advanced mathematics course. This is something else entirely. It's an application of the Riemann hypothesis, one of the most famous unsolved problems in all of mathematics. Mathematicians have been working on it for over a century and a half. $1 million prizes have been offered for its solution. The greatest mathematical minds in history have tried and failed. And Whitmore just put it on the board and asked a 14-year-old to solve it. Isaiah stares at it. He recognizes enough to know what it is, to understand that this is impossible. Sir, I don't think. What's wrong, Mr. Carter? Whitmore's voice cuts through the room. I thought you were gifted. Surely this is within your capabilities. The other students are starting to realize what's happening. Sarah's face goes pale. Marcus Chin looks horrified. Even Brett Hawthorne and Tyler Morrison, who've mocked Isaiah all semester, look uncomfortable. Sarah tries to intervene. Professor, that's not fair. Miss Kim, I didn't ask for your input. Whitmore doesn't even look at her. His eyes are locked on Isaiah. Well, Mr. Carter? We're waiting. The whole class is waiting to see this exceptional talent everyone keeps telling me about. Isaiah stands at that board, marker in hand, staring at an unsolved problem that has defeated centuries of brilliant mathematicians. His face is burning. His hands are shaking. The silence in the room is suffocating. Behind him he can feel everyone watching. Brett and Tyler are grinning now, enjoying the show. Sarah looks like she wants to cry. The other students are staring at their desks, unable to watch. I can't solve this, sir. Whitmore's voice drips with false sympathy. Can't? How surprising. And here I thought you were special. Isn't that what everyone says? That you're so gifted, so exceptional? This is an unsolved problem, sir. It's... Isaiah's voice cracks. No one has solved this. Making excuses, Mr. Carter? Whitmore walks closer, stands right behind Isaiah at the board. Or perhaps you're simply out of your depth. Perhaps you were never meant to be in this seminar in the first place. Perhaps everyone who said you needed more time, more preparation, perhaps they were right all along. Isaiah's hands clench around the marker. He wants to scream. He wants to throw the marker at Whitmore's smug face. He wants to walk out of this classroom and never come back. But he doesn't do any of those things. Because Rose didn't raise him to give Whitmore that satisfaction. He sets the marker down carefully in the tray below the board. May I sit down, sir? By all means. Isaiah walks back to his seat. His vision is blurry. He's not going to cry in front of them. He's not going to give Whitmore that too. He sits down, stares at his desk, and somehow makes it through the rest of the class without breaking. The moment the seminar ends, Isaiah doesn't wait for anyone. He grabs his backpack and walks straight to the bathroom on the 3rd floor, the one that's usually empty this time of day. He locks himself in a stall and finally, allows himself to cry. Not quiet tears. These are the kind of sobs that come from somewhere deep, that shake your whole body, that carry months of humiliation and hurt and rage. He doesn't hear the bathroom door open. Doesn't hear footsteps approaching. Just hears a voice. Hey man. I saw what happened in there. Isaiah tries to compose himself. wipes his face with toilet paper. I'm fine. No, you're not. And you don't have to be. It's Marcus Thompson. Senior, 6'2" star basketball player, brilliant mathematician, one of the handful of black students at Riverside who aren't scholarship kids. His parents are both doctors. He's never had to prove he belongs anywhere. Isaiah opens the stall door. Marcus is standing there and his face shows genuine anger. That was messed up, Marcus continues. Everyone knows it. That problem, I recognized it. That's literally unsolved. He basically asked you to do what the greatest mathematicians in history haven't been able to do. Doesn't matter. He's the professor. He can do whatever he wants. Marcus leans against the sink. It does matter. Look, I'm a senior. I've been at this school for 4 years. I've seen Whitmore do this before. Isaiah looks up. Do what? Find the one student who threatens him most and try to break them. It's always someone who doesn't fit his idea of what a mathematician should look like. 2 years ago it was this Latina girl, Sofia Martinez. Brilliant. Got into Berkeley. But Whitmore made her life hell until she switched out of his seminar. So what do I do? Marcus is quiet for a moment. You outlast him. You prove him wrong by succeeding anyway. It's not fair. It's not right. But it's reality. The question is, are you going to let him win? Isaiah doesn't answer. He doesn't know the answer yet. That evening, Isaiah comes home defeated in a way Rose has never seen before. Not sad, defeated. Like something inside him has been broken. He tells her everything. The impossible problem, the public humiliation, the feeling of standing at that board knowing he was set up to fail in front of everyone. Rose listens without interrupting. When Isaiah finishes, she asks him one question. Baby, you want to quit? Isaiah looks at his grandmother. I don't know. That's honest. Let me tell you something about your mama. Rose gets up, goes to the shelf where she keeps the photo albums. She pulls one out, opens it to a page with a young woman in her early 20s, Isaiah's mother at her college graduation. But Rose flips to pictures before that, high school photos. When your mama was in school, she was the only black girl in her advanced classes. Math, science, English didn't matter. She was always the only one. And her teachers did the same thing Whitmore's doing to you. Questioned her work. Gave her harder tests. Made her feel like she didn't belong. What did she do? Before you click away from this video, hit that subscribe button because what happens next will restore your faith in the power of perseverance. And here's my question. When someone tried to break you, what kept you going? Was it a person, a memory, a dream? Tell me in the comments because these stories matter. Rose looks at her grandson. She worked twice as hard as everyone else. She stayed up later, studied longer, proved herself over and over again. And you know what? She graduated top of her class. Then she went to college on a full scholarship, full ride, everything paid for. Your mama didn't let anyone define her limits. Isaiah looks at the photo of his mother, young and smiling in her graduation gown, her whole life ahead of her before a drunk driver took it all away. I miss her, Grandma. I know, baby. Rose closes the album, puts her hand over Isaiah's. She'd be so proud of you. Not because you're perfect, not because you never struggle, but because you keep fighting. Because you show up every day to a place that doesn't want you there and you do the work anyway. They sit there in silence for a while, the television playing quietly in the background, the sounds of the city filtering through the windows. And slowly, gradually, something shifts inside Isaiah. The hurt is still there. The humiliation is still there. But underneath it, something else starts to grow. Not hope exactly. Something harder than hope. Something more like determination. He's done trying to prove himself to Theodore Whitmore. That's a game he can never win because Whitmore doesn't want to be proven wrong. Whitmore needs Isaiah to fail because Isaiah's success would shatter too many of Whitmore's comfortable beliefs about the world. But Isaiah can prove something to himself. He can prove that Rose didn't raise a quitter. That his mother's son doesn't back down from bullies, even when they have PhDs and British accents and offices full of awards. That a kid from the south side of Chicago who takes the bus to school and buys his backpack on sale is just as much of a mathematician as anyone who ever set foot in Riverside Preparatory Academy. Grandma, Isaiah says, looking up from the photo album. I'm not quitting. Rose smiles. I know you're not, baby. I never thought you would. That night, Isaiah sits at the kitchen table with his mathematics textbooks and notebooks spread out in front of him. He's not studying for Whitmore anymore. He's not trying to meet some impossible standard. He's studying because he loves this. Because when he looks at a complex equation, his brain lights up in a way that makes sense of a world that so often doesn't make sense. Because mathematics is beautiful and pure and doesn't care about the color of his skin or where he comes from or whether a professor thinks he belongs. The Illinois State Mathematics competition is 3 weeks away. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks until Isaiah Carter stands on a stage with his team and shows everyone what he's capable of. But before that competition, something else is going to happen. Something that will occur in Whitmore's classroom on a quiet October afternoon. Something that will make the impossible look easy and the extraordinary look inevitable. Isaiah doesn't know it yet, but he's about to solve a problem that will make Professor Theodore Whitmore's hands shake. A problem that will force everyone at Riverside Prep to reconsider everything they thought they knew about genius, about talent, about who gets to be exceptional. But that moment is still to come. Right now, it's just a 14-year-old boy at a kitchen table in a small apartment, working through calculus problems while his grandmother watches her game shows, and somewhere inside him, something that was almost broken is becoming stronger than steel. 3 weeks. That's all the time between Isaiah Carter standing in a bathroom crying and the Illinois State Mathematics competition. 3 weeks to prepare, to prove himself, to transform from a kid who's barely holding on into someone ready to compete against the best high school mathematics students in the entire state. Some people would use those 3 weeks to rest, to pace themselves, to maintain balance. Isaiah Carter is not some people. He throws himself into preparation with an intensity that borders on obsession. Every spare moment becomes study time. He's in the library before school starts, sitting at the same corner table with textbooks spread around him like fortifications. During lunch, while other students are in the cafeteria talking about football games and weekend plans, Isaiah is in an empty classroom working through problem sets. After team practice ends, when everyone else goes home, Isaiah stays. The librarian starts to recognize him, stops asking if he needs help because she knows, this kid is on a mission. Rose notices. How could she not? Her grandson who used to eat dinner with her every night now barely touches his food. The boy who used to watch game shows with her on the couch now falls asleep with his face in a calculus textbook. She finds him at midnight, still working. At 1 a.m, still working. Isaiah, you need rest, she tells him one night, standing in the doorway of his room. I need to be ready, Grandma. Baby, you're going to burn yourself out. Isaiah looks up at her, and his eyes are red-rimmed from exhaustion and staring at pages of equations. I can't afford to burn out. I have to be perfect. Better than perfect. But here's the thing. Isaiah isn't just preparing for the competition. He's not just drilling practice problems and memorizing formulas. He's learning. Really learning. He's gone beyond the high school curriculum, beyond what Whitmore teaches in the seminar, beyond what anyone expects a 14-year-old to know. He's teaching himself topology, the mathematics of shapes and spaces. Abstract algebra, the study of mathematical structures. Number theory at a graduate level, the kind of mathematics that most people don't encounter until they're getting their PhDs. He uses everything he can find. Online courses from MIT and Stanford, their lectures recorded and posted for free. Library books that he has to request from the university library because the public library doesn't carry them. Academic papers that he downloads and prints out, even when half the terminology goes over his head at first. He reads them anyway, looks up what he doesn't understand, builds his knowledge piece by piece. And then something unexpected happens. Miss Patricia Henderson, Isaiah's 8th grade math teacher from Southside Middle School, the woman who first saw his potential and pushed him to apply to Riverside Prep, hears about what's been happening. She hears it through the network of teachers who stay connected, who care about their students even after they move on. She hears about the accusation of cheating, about Whitmore's treatment of Isaiah, about the competition coming up. She calls Rose one evening. Mrs. Carter, it's Patricia Henderson. I heard about what Isaiah's been going through at Riverside. Rose sighs. News travels, I guess. It does. And I want to help. I can tutor Isaiah on weekends. Help him prepare for this competition. No charge, no expectations. I just want to help. Rose's voice catches. Ms. Henderson, we can't pay. I don't want payment. Isaiah is special. He deserves support. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to meet with him on Saturdays. Every Saturday morning after that, Isaiah takes 2 buses to a coffee shop in a neighborhood between the South Side and Ms. Henderson's apartment. She's always there first, sitting at a corner table with her own stack of books and a cup of tea. When Isaiah arrives, she orders him hot chocolate, not coffee because he's still 14, and they work. But the difference between studying with Ms. Henderson and studying in Whitmore's seminar is the difference between sunlight and fluorescent lights. Both illuminate, but only one feels warm. Ms. Henderson pushes Isaiah hard, maybe even harder than Whitmore does. But when Isaiah struggles, she doesn't humiliate him. When he makes a mistake, she doesn't treat it like evidence of inadequacy. She treats it like what it is, a step in the learning process. You have a gift, Isaiah, she tells him one Saturday when he's frustrated with a particularly difficult problem. A real gift. Don't let anyone make you forget that. Not a professor, not other students, not even yourself. What if the gift isn't enough? Isaiah asks quietly. Miss Henderson sets down her pen, looks him in the eye. The gift isn't what makes you special. The work is what makes you special. The fact that you show up every day and do the work even when it's hard, even when people doubt you, even when you doubt yourself. That's what makes you a mathematician. The team practices intensify as the competition approaches. Twice a week becomes 3 times a week becomes almost daily. Sarah Kim notices something changing in Isaiah. His solutions are becoming more sophisticated, more elegant. His approaches to problems are showing depth that wasn't there before. You've been putting in work, she says to him after one practice. I can tell. You're not just solving problems anymore, you're seeing patterns, making connections. That's what the best mathematicians do. Even Whitmore can't entirely deny what's happening. Isaiah's work is getting objectively better, more refined, more impressive. But Whitmore is Whitmore, so he finds other ways to criticize. Correct, but inefficient. This notation would never stand in academic publishing. Try to think more rigorously, Mr. Carter. The other students start to roll their eyes when Whitmore does this. Marcus Chin whispers to Isaiah during one practice. He's running out of material. That's how you know you're winning. 1 week before the competition, Isaiah is in the library late. Really late. The sun has set, the building is mostly empty, just a few students scattered across different floors. Isaiah is at his usual table, surrounded by books and papers, working through a set of particularly challenging problems from a previous year's national mathematics competition. Not the state level, the national level, because at this point Isaiah has moved beyond just preparing for what's coming. He's preparing for everything. He's so focused that he doesn't notice someone approaching until they're standing right at his table. Isaiah looks up and his whole body tenses. Professor Theodore Whitmore is standing there, briefcase in hand, looking uncomfortable in a way Isaiah has never seen. Working late, I see, Whitmore says. Yes, sir. Isaiah's voice is cautious. What is this? Some new way to humiliate him? Some test he doesn't know he's taking? Whitmore gestures to the chair across from Isaiah. May I? Isaiah nods, not trusting his voice. Whitmore sits. There's a long silence. He sets his briefcase down, folds his hands on the table. He's not looking at Isaiah directly. He's looking at the papers spread across the table, at the advanced problems Isaiah has been working through. Mr. Carter, I wanted to. He pauses, seems to struggle with the words. That is, I've been observing your progress over these past weeks. Isaiah waits. His heart is pounding. Your recent work shows significant improvement. The depth of your understanding has clearly grown. Thank you, sir. Another pause. Whitmore shifts in his chair like the words he needs to say are physically uncomfortable. I may have been overly harsh in my assessments of you. Isaiah looks up sharply. Did Whitmore just, is he actually? Whitmore continues, still not quite meeting Isaiah's eyes. You remind me of, when I was your age, I wasn't from privilege either. My father was a postal worker. My mother cleaned houses. I had to fight for every opportunity, every scholarship, every chance to prove myself. I faced teachers who didn't believe someone from my background could excel in mathematics. Isaiah sits perfectly still, afraid that any movement might break whatever strange spell has come over Whitmore. Perhaps I projected my own experiences onto you unfairly, Whitmore says quietly. Perhaps I saw you as I saw myself at that age, and I thought the only way to prepare you for this world was to be as harsh as the world would be. But I may have been wrong about that approach. It's not quite an apology. It's not Whitmore saying I was wrong, or I'm sorry. But it's something. It's an acknowledgement. It's the closest thing to vulnerability Isaiah has ever seen from this man. Isaiah doesn't know how to respond. Part of him wants to say, it's okay. Another part wants to say, you made my life hell for months. But what comes out is just, I appreciate you telling me that, sir. Whitmore nods, stands up, picks up his briefcase. Regardless, the competition is in 1 week. Make sure you're prepared. Get some rest. Exhaustion breeds mistakes. Then he leaves, walking away through the library stacks, leaving Isaiah sitting there in complete confusion. Was that genuine? A real moment of reflection and growth from a man who spent months trying to break him? Or is this some new game, some new strategy? Is Whitmore trying to get inside his head in a different way, to make Isaiah lower his guard? Isaiah sits there for another 20 minutes, not studying, just thinking. He decides it doesn't matter. Genuine or not, apology or manipulation, it doesn't change what he needs to do. He needs to be ready for tomorrow. He needs to be prepared for the competition. And most importantly, he needs to prove to himself that he belongs, not to Whitmore, not to Riverside Prep, but to himself. The day before the competition arrives faster than Isaiah expected. It's a Friday and there's a final team practice after school. Everyone can feel the tension in the air, the nervous energy, the anticipation. Tomorrow they'll be competing against teams from all over Illinois. Schools with more resources, more prestige, students who've been training for this their entire lives. Whitmore gives them a practice test designed to mirror the competition format. There are 2 rounds in the actual competition. An individual round where each student works alone, then a team round where they collaborate on advanced problems. The practice test follows the same structure. Isaiah works through the individual problems with focused intensity. These are hard, genuinely challenging questions that require creative thinking and solid technical knowledge. But Isaiah has been preparing for this. Every late night, every Saturday with Ms. Henderson, every moment of study has led to this point. He finishes with time to spare, then goes back and checks his work, looking for small errors, making sure his notation is clear. The team round is where everything comes together. Sarah, Marcus, David, Christopher, Jennifer, and Isaiah huddle around a table, looking at the advanced problems Whitmore has given them. They need to strategize, who's best at what kind of problem, how to divide the work, how to maximize their efficiency. And for the first time all semester the team is really clicking. The chemistry that was building during practices solidifies into something real. Isaiah contributes ideas and the team listens. Not out of pity, not out of obligation, but because his ideas are good. Sarah builds on one of his observations. Marcus uses Isaiah's approach to crack open a particularly difficult problem. They're functioning like a real team, like 6 minds working as one. Good observation, Mr. Carter, Whitmore says at one point, and the words are so unexpected that Isaiah almost doesn't register them. David Ross looks up in surprise. Sarah Kim catches Isaiah's eye and smiles. When practice ends, Whitmore addresses the team one final time before tomorrow's competition. Tomorrow you represent not just yourselves but Riverside Preparatory Academy. I expect excellence from each of you. I expect you to demonstrate the rigor, the discipline, and the intellectual capacity that defines a Riverside student. He looks at each of them in turn. Sarah, confident and ready. Marcus, calm under pressure. David, Jennifer, Christopher, all prepared. Then his eyes meet Isaiah's. And there's something there that wasn't there before. Not quite respect. Maybe Whitmore isn't capable of that, not yet. But recognition. An acknowledgement that Isaiah belongs in this room, on this team, in this competition. Get some rest tonight, Whitmore says. Clear minds perform better than tired ones. The team disperses. As Isaiah is packing his bag, Sarah comes over. You ready for this? I think so. No, I mean really ready. Because tomorrow we're going to show everyone what we can do. All of us. Isaiah nods. Yeah, I'm ready. But that night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, Isaiah discovers that being ready during the day and being ready at 2 in the morning are very different things. His mind won't stop racing. He keeps thinking about the competition, about what could go wrong, about all the ways he could fail. What if he freezes up? What if he makes stupid mistakes? What if he proves Whitmore right after all? At 2 a.m., Rose finds him at the kitchen table, surrounded by notebooks and practice problems, reviewing formulas and techniques he's already mastered. Baby, you need sleep. I know, Grandma. What if I mess up? What if I prove him right about me? Rose sits down across from him. She's in her nightgown, her hair wrapped for the night, looking every one of her 67 years but also looking like the strongest person Isaiah has ever known. If you've stuck with this story this far, smash that subscribe button because you need to see what happens next. And let me ask you, what's the biggest moment you've ever prepared for? That thing that kept you up at night, that made you question everything? Drop it in the comments. Then you mess up, Rose says simply. You're human, Isaiah. You're allowed to be human. But you won't prove him right because he's not right about you. He was never right about you. You know how I know? How? Because you're sitting here at 2 in the morning, scared out of your mind, and you're still doing the work. Because when that man tried to break you, you didn't break. Because your mama's looking down on you right now and she's proud. Not of your grades, not of your test scores, but of the fact that her baby boy kept going when everything told him to quit. Isaiah's eyes are wet. I miss her so much, Grandma. I know, baby. I miss her too every single day. But she's here. She's in you. Every time you solve a problem, every time you stand up for yourself, every time you choose to keep going, that's her. That's her spirit living on through you. Rose stands up, starts gathering Isaiah's notebooks and papers. Now you're going to bed. The competition is in 7 hours. Whatever happens tomorrow happens. But it's going to happen to a well-rested young man, not someone who stayed up all night worrying. Isaiah finally sleeps around 3 a.m. and when he does, he dreams. Not of the competition, not of Whitmore, not of failing or succeeding. He dreams of his mother, young and laughing, telling him a story he can't quite remember when he wakes up but that leaves him feeling warm and safe and loved. Tomorrow is the Illinois State Mathematics Competition. Tomorrow, Isaiah Carter will step onto a stage with students who've had every advantage he hasn't. Tomorrow, he'll compete against the best mathematical minds in the state. Tomorrow, he'll have a chance to show everyone, his team, his school, Professor Whitmore, but most importantly himself, what he's truly capable of. But we're not there yet. Right now, it's early morning on competition day, and Isaiah Carter is sleeping peacefully in a small apartment on Chicago's South Side while his grandmother sits in the living room, looking at photos of her daughter and praying to whoever might be listening that tomorrow treats her grandson kindly, that he gets the chance to shine the way he deserves to shine. The sun is coming up. The day is beginning. And everything is about to change. Saturday morning. The sun rises over Northwestern University's campus, and Isaiah Carter wakes up in his grandmother's apartment with his stomach doing backflips. Today is the Illinois State Mathematics Competition. Today is the day he's been preparing for, losing sleep over, staking everything on. Today he either proves he belongs or proves Whitmore right. Rose makes him breakfast, eggs and toast, his favorite, but Isaiah can barely eat. She doesn't push him. Just sits across the table, drinking her coffee, being present. Sometimes that's all someone needs. Northwestern University's campus is massive, beautiful in that way elite universities are. Historic buildings, manicured lawns, students who walk around like they own the future because in many ways they do. The Illinois State Mathematics Competition is being held here, and 64 schools are competing. Over 300 students, all of them among the best mathematics students in their schools, all of them here to prove something. The Riverside Prep team arrives together. Whitmore drove them in the school van, 6 students and 1 professor, making the journey from their privileged suburb to this even more privileged campus. Isaiah looks out the window as they pull into the parking lot, sees students from other schools streaming toward the main building. They all look confident. They all look like they belong here. Isaiah's stomach is in knots. They make their way to the opening ceremony in a large auditorium that seats maybe 800 people. It's almost full. Schools from all over Illinois, Chicago, Springfield, Peoria, Rockford, tiny rural towns and wealthy suburbs. The competition director takes the stage, a professor from Northwestern, and explains the rules that everyone already knows but needs to hear officially. Individual round, 90 minutes, 12 problems of increasing difficulty. You work alone. No calculators, no notes, just you and your brain and a pencil. Team round, 60 minutes, 8 problems, team collaboration not just allowed but essential. The combined scores from both rounds determine the winning school. Sarah Kim, sitting next to Isaiah, leans over and puts a hand on his shoulder. You got this. Isaiah nods but doesn't trust his voice to respond. They're directed to different rooms for the individual round. Schools are split up deliberately so students compete as individuals, not as teams. Isaiah finds himself in a room with about 50 other students, assigned to desk number 32. He sits down, looks around. Everyone looks confident. Everyone looks prepared. A girl 2 seats over is doing breathing exercises. A boy in front of him is stretching his fingers like an athlete before a race. In the observation area at the back of the room, where teachers and coaches can watch but not communicate, Isaiah catches a glimpse of Professor Whitmore. Their eyes meet for just a second, and Isaiah can't read the expression on Whitmore's face. The proctor, a graduate student from Northwestern, walks around distributing test packets face down on each desk. Do not turn over your test until I say begin, she announces. You have 90 minutes. Show all your work. Partial credit will be given for correct approaches even if you don't reach the final answer. Isaiah stares at the blank back of his test packet. His heart is pounding so hard he's sure the person next to him can hear it. You may begin. The room fills with the sound of papers rustling as 50 students flip over their tests simultaneously. Isaiah opens his packet, forces himself to take a breath, and looks at problem 1. The first few problems are straightforward. the kind of thing designed to let everyone get some points on the board, to build confidence before things get harder. Isaiah moves through them quickly. Not rushed but efficiently. Problem 1, basic algebra with a twist. Problem 2, geometry, finding the area of an irregular shape. Problem 3, a word problem involving rates and ratios. Problem 4 is where things start to get challenging. It requires creative thinking, seeing beyond the obvious approach. Isaiah stares at it for a moment, then sees it. There's a pattern hidden in the numbers, a way to simplify the problem before solving it. He works through it methodically, shows all his steps, double-checks his arithmetic. Problem 7 involves number theory, the kind of problem that separates students who memorized formulas from students who understand underlying principles. Isaiah has been studying number theory obsessively. He recognizes the structure of the problem, knows the theorems that apply, works through it step by step. The solution comes together cleanly. Problem 10 is very difficult. Isaiah reads it twice, then a third time. He's stuck for a moment, his mind spinning. Then something clicks. A pattern he studied with Ms. Henderson on one of those Saturday mornings at the coffee shop. She showed him this exact type of problem structure. He can hear her voice in his head. Look for the invariant, Isaiah. What stays the same no matter how the problem changes? He finds the invariant. The solution unfolds from there. Problem 11 is extremely difficult, involving multiple concepts that have to be woven together. Algebra, geometry, and number theory all in one problem. Time is running short now. Isaiah glances at the clock. He has 15 minutes left and 2 problems to go. He decides to skip to problem 12, the final problem worth the most points. If he's going to run out of time, he wants to at least see what it is. He reads problem 12 and his heart stops. It's similar to the impossible problem Whitmore used to humiliate him in front of the entire seminar. Not exactly the same. This one is actually solvable. It's not an unsolved problem from the annals of mathematics history, but it's the same class of problem. The same type of thinking required, the same advanced concepts. In his mind, he hears Whitmore's voice from that terrible day. Perhaps you're simply out of your depth, Mr. Carter. For a moment, just a moment, Isaiah almost gives up. Almost skips it and goes back to problem 11. What's the point? If he couldn't solve Whitmore's version, how can he solve this? But then other voices crowd out Whitmore's. His grandmother, you're everything he tells himself you can't be. Miss Henderson, you have a gift, Isaiah. Don't let anyone make you forget that. His mother's voice, from memories so old they're more feeling than words. You can do anything, baby. Anything. Isaiah looks at the problem again with fresh eyes. What if Whitmore's problem wasn't just meant to humiliate him? What if it was also, accidentally, unintentionally, meant to teach him something? He spent weeks after that humiliation studying problems like this, trying to understand them, trying to make sense of what Whitmore had thrown at him. What if all that studying prepared him for this exact moment? He starts working. Uses techniques he learned from studying that unsolved problem, approaches he discovered in graduate-level textbooks, insights he gained from academic papers he barely understood at first but worked through anyway. The mathematics starts to flow. He's not thinking anymore, not consciously. His pencil is just moving, his brain is just processing, and the solution is emerging like a photograph in a darkroom. 5 minutes left. He's close. So close. 2 minutes. He sees the final step, the last piece of the puzzle clicking into place. He writes furiously, showing his work, making sure every step is clear because partial credit matters and he needs every point he can get. Time. Pencils down. The proctor's voice cuts through the room like a knife. Isaiah sets his pencil down. His hand is shaking. His whole body is shaking. Did he get it? Did he solve it correctly? He's not sure. He thinks so. He hopes so. But he won't know until the scores are posted. There's a 1-hour break for lunch between the individual round and the team round. Individual scores won't be posted until after the team round is complete. The competition organizers don't want students getting psyched out or overconfident before the team portion. The Riverside Prep team gathers in a designated area, pulls out packed lunches, tries to decompress. Whitmore sits with them, which is unusual. Usually he keeps his distance, maintains that professional boundary between teacher and student. But today he's here and he asks, how did everyone feel about the individual round? The responses are mixed but mostly positive. Sarah thought it was hard but fair. Marcus felt good about most of it. Jennifer is worried about problem 8, thinks she might have made a mistake. Christopher wishes he'd had more time. David thinks he did okay, can't tell for sure. Isaiah stays quiet, picking at his sandwich without really eating it. Sarah notices. That last problem was brutal. I didn't even know where to start. Marcus nods. Yeah, I didn't even finish it. Ran out of time. Jennifer shakes her head. I took a guess on the final answer and moved on. Figured some points on other problems were better than no points on that one. Whitmore's eyes find Isaiah across the group. Mr. Carter? How did you find the individual round? Everyone turns to look at Isaiah. He swallows, sets down his sandwich. I attempted all problems, sir. Whitmore's eyebrows raise slightly, but all he says is, good. That's good. The team round begins 60 minutes later. This time they're all together in one room with a proctor, given one test packet to share. This is where strategy matters, where teamwork makes the difference between winning and losing. Sarah takes the lead organizing because that's what she does. She's a natural leader, has been since freshman year. Okay, let's divide these up by strengths. Marcus, you take the geometry problems. Jennifer, you're best at algebra. Isaiah, number theory is your thing. David and Christopher, you float and help wherever needed. I'll coordinate and make sure we're managing time well. They work together with an efficiency that comes from weeks of practice, from learning each other's strengths and communication styles. Isaiah gets his assigned problems and solves them quickly, then moves to help others. The team is clicking, functioning like a well-oiled machine. Then they hit problem 7. Extremely difficult, involving combinatorics and probability, the kind of problem that requires seeing patterns in chaos, understanding how to count things that seem uncountable. The whole team is stuck. They try different approaches. Nothing works. Nothing even gets them close. 10 minutes left. They're burning time on this one problem and they still have problem 8 to attempt. Isaiah stares at the problem and suddenly he sees it. I have an idea. What if we use a recursive approach? Break it down into smaller cases that build on each other? He starts outlining it quickly on a piece of scratch paper, talking fast because time is running out. Sarah's eyes widen as she follows his logic. That could work. Yes, that could definitely work. Let's try it. They dive in together, building on Isaiah's framework. Sarah adds a key insight about symmetry that simplifies the calculation. Marcus connects it to a geometric interpretation that makes the pattern clearer. They're not 6 individual students anymore. They're one mathematical mind with 6 different perspectives all working toward the same solution. 5 minutes left and they have it. The solution is there, complete and correct. Jennifer, who has the neatest handwriting, writes it up cleanly on the answer sheet while the others move to problem 8. Time. They submit their packet. The proctor collects it and just like that, it's over. The team round is done. The competition is done. All that's left is waiting for the scores. The team feels good. Cautiously optimistic. They solved 7 out of 8 problems completely, and they have a partial solution for the 8th. That's strong. Really strong. But they won't know how strong until they see what other teams did. The scores will be announced in 90 minutes while judges tally results, check all the work, assign points. 90 minutes of waiting, of not knowing, of hope and fear and anticipation all mixed together into something that sits heavy in your chest. Students mill around campus, burning off nervous energy. Some are confident, laughing with teammates, convinced they crushed it. Others look worried, replaying mistakes in their minds, calculating how many points they might have lost. Isaiah can't handle being around people right now. He finds a quiet spot outside, sits on a bench under a tree, tries to calm his mind. The October air is cool but not cold. Leaves are falling, golden and red. It would be peaceful if his brain would just shut up for 5 seconds. He doesn't hear Whitmore approach until he's standing right there. Mr. Carter, walk with me. It's not a request. Isaiah stands and they start walking around campus together. For a while, neither speaks. They just walk, past buildings where students are studying, past groups of competition participants waiting for results, past a fountain where someone's throwing pennies and making wishes. Finally, Whitmore breaks the silence. That final problem in the individual round. Did you attempt it? Yes, sir. It was based on an unsolved problem class. Very few students would have even recognized what type of problem it was, let alone attempted a solution. Isaiah says nothing, doesn't know what Whitmore wants him to say. Whitmore stops walking, turns to face Isaiah. I gave you a problem like that once. To humiliate you. I'm not proud of that. Isaiah looks at him, genuinely surprised. Whitmore has been weird lately, that moment in the library, the acknowledgement during practice. But this is different. This is direct. Whitmore continues, and his voice is different than Isaiah has ever heard it. Quieter. Almost vulnerable. When I was 14, I had a teacher who told me I'd never amount to anything because I was from a poor family. He said mathematics was for people with breeding and education, not for the son of a postal worker. I spent my entire life proving him wrong. Somewhere along the way I became what I hated. They start walking again. Isaiah's mind is reeling. Why are you telling me this, sir? Because regardless of how you scored today, you've already proven something important. You've shown resilience, intelligence, and character that I failed to see. I was so focused on my own past, my own struggles, that I couldn't see you for who you actually are. I saw a reflection of my own insecurities instead. I'm sorry, Isaiah. It's the first time Whitmore has used his first name, not Mr. Carter. Isaiah. Isaiah doesn't know what to say. This man has made his life hell for months. Has questioned his abilities, accused him of cheating, humiliated him in front of his peers, set impossible standards designed to make him fail. And now he's apologizing? Now he's being human? Thank you, sir. Isaiah finally manages because he was raised to be respectful even when he doesn't know what else to be. They walk back toward the main building in silence. Not a comfortable silence, but not entirely uncomfortable either. More like two people who've been at war suddenly realizing they're both human, both flawed, both carrying wounds they didn't inflict on each other but somehow ended up inflicting anyway. Before we find out what happens next, hit that subscribe button because this story isn't over yet, not by a long shot. And here's my question for you. Have you ever had someone apologize to you when you'd already given up on ever hearing those words? How did it feel? Tell me in the comments because forgiveness is complicated, and I want to hear your stories. As they reach the building, they can see other students starting to gather. The 90 minutes are almost up. The scores are about to be announced. Isaiah's heart starts racing again, all thoughts of Whitmore's apology temporarily pushed aside by the immediate terror and excitement of finding out how he did. The Riverside team reassembles. Sarah looks calm on the outside, but Isaiah can see the tension in her shoulders. Marcus is cracking his knuckles nervously. Jennifer is texting her parents. David and Christopher are talking quietly, trying to distract themselves. Whitmore stands slightly apart from the students, giving them space, but Isaiah notices he's not as composed as usual. His hands are clasped behind his back, but his fingers are moving restlessly. Even Whitmore is nervous. The competition director takes the stage again, this time with a laptop and a projector. Thank you all for your patience. The judges have completed their scoring. Before we announce results, I want to say that every student here today should be proud. You represent the best mathematical minds in Illinois. Simply being here is an achievement. Just tell us already, someone mutters behind Isaiah. We'll start with the team round results, then individual round, then combined scores for overall rankings. The room goes silent. 300 students holding their collective breath. In the team round, 10th place goes to. The director starts reading results. Each announcement is met with applause, some cheers from the winning schools, polite clapping from everyone else. Isaiah watches the rankings scroll on the screen. Riverside isn't in 10th. Isn't in 9th. Isn't in 8th. Are they not in the top 10 at all? Did they bomb it? Isaiah's stomach drops. 7th place. 6th place. Still no Riverside. 5th place goes to a school from Chicago's North Shore, a wealthy district known for its mathematics program. 4th place. A STEM magnet school from Springfield. 3rd place, another Chicago private school, one of Riverside's biggest rivals. Sarah grabs Isaiah's hand. Marcus is leaning forward in his seat. 2nd place in the team round with a score of 178 out of 200 points. The pause feels eternal. Riverside Preparatory Academy. The team erupts. Not quite first, but second out of 64 schools? That's incredible. They're hugging each other, Sarah is crying happy tears. Even Whitmore is smiling genuinely for maybe the first time Isaiah has ever seen. But the celebration is brief because now comes the individual round results, and this is where Isaiah's heart really starts pounding. The team score is great, but what about his individual score? Did he solve that last problem correctly? Did he make stupid mistakes on the easier ones? The director announces the top individual scorers. 3rd place, a senior from the school that won the team round. 2nd place, another senior from a different school. Both scored in the high 90s out of 100 possible points. And in 1st place for the individual round with a score of 98 out of 100 points. Isaiah isn't even hoping. There's no way. He's a freshman. He's been doing this for a few months. These other kids have been training for years. Isaiah Carter, Riverside Preparatory Academy. For a second, Isaiah doesn't process it. His brain refuses to accept what his ears just heard. But then Sarah is screaming and hugging him, and Marcus is slapping his back, and Jennifer is laughing, and the entire Riverside team is surrounding him, and the room is applauding, and Isaiah realizes he won. He won the individual round. 98 out of 100. 2 points lost somewhere, probably a small arithmetic error or a notation issue, but 98 points. The highest individual score in the entire competition. Isaiah looks over at Whitmore and the professor's face is pale. His hands are trembling slightly. He's staring at Isaiah like he's seeing him for the first time, really seeing him. Like everything he thought he knew about this 14-year-old boy just got rewritten in an instant. The combined scores are calculated quickly now. When you win the individual round and place second in the team round, the math is simple. Riverside Preparatory Academy finishes first overall. They won the Illinois State Mathematics competition. And Isaiah Carter, the scholarship kid from the South Side, the boy who was accused of cheating, who was humiliated in front of his class, who was told he might be out of his depth, Isaiah Carter is the reason they won. The rest is a blur. There's an awards ceremony. Isaiah walks across the stage to accept his individual medal. The Riverside team accepts their first place trophy together. There are photos, congratulations from other coaches and students, handshakes and backslaps, and moments that Isaiah will remember in vivid detail for the rest of his life. But the moment he'll remember most clearly is smaller, quieter. It's when Whitmore approaches him after the ceremony, after most of the chaos has died down. Whitmore extends his hand and Isaiah shakes it. "I was wrong about you," Whitmore says simply. "Completely wrong. And I'm sorry." Isaiah nods, accepts the apology because what else can he do? The vindication he thought he'd feel isn't quite what he expected. It's not triumph or satisfaction. It's just relief. Relief that he proved to himself what he was capable of. Relief that the voice in his head telling him he didn't belong can finally be quiet. On the drive back to Chicago, the team is buzzing with energy, replaying favorite moments, already planning how they'll celebrate. Isaiah sits by the window, the medal heavy around his neck, watching the city come into view. He can't wait to tell his grandmother. Can't wait to see her face when he shows her the medal, tells her he won. He can picture her crying happy tears, pulling him close, telling him she knew all along. He wishes his mother could be here to see this. Wishes he could show her that her son, the boy she didn't get to watch grow up, turned out okay. More than okay. But somehow he thinks she knows. Somehow he thinks she's been watching all along. The van pulls up to Isaiah's neighborhood. Whitmore actually gets out, helps Isaiah with his backpack, shakes his hand one more time. "I'll see you Monday, Isaiah. And congratulations again." Isaiah walks up the stairs to his grandmother's apartment, and before he can even knock, the door flies open. Rose is standing there. Miss Henderson must have called her, must have told her the news, and she's already crying. "My baby," she says, pulling him into a hug. "My brilliant, beautiful baby." Isaiah hugs her back and finally he lets himself cry too. Not from sadness or frustration or humiliation. From joy. From relief. From the overwhelming feeling of having climbed a mountain that everyone said was too high and discovering that the view from the top was even better than he imagined. They stand there in the doorway, grandmother and grandson, holding each other while the October sun sets over Chicago. Inside the apartment, on the shelf with all the family photos, the picture of Isaiah's mother in her graduation gown seems to be smiling just a little bit brighter. Tomorrow, Isaiah will go back to Riverside Prep. Tomorrow, he'll face hallways that might look at him differently now. Tomorrow, everything might change or nothing might change or something in between. But tonight, none of that matters. Tonight, Isaiah Carter is exactly where he belongs. Home with his grandmother, with a first-place medal around his neck, and with the certain knowledge that he is enough. He's always been enough. And nobody can ever take that away from him again. The auditorium at Northwestern University is packed. 64 schools, over 300 students, countless parents and teachers and coaches, all waiting for the same thing. The results. The moment of truth. The answer to the question that's been hanging in the air for the past 90 minutes. Who won? The competition director takes the stage, that same Northwestern professor who explained the rules at the beginning of the day. He has a laptop, a projector, and the power to make or break hearts with a few words. The room goes silent. You could hear a pin drop. "Thank you all for your patience," he begins. "The judges have completed their scoring. Before we announce results, I want to acknowledge that every student here today should be proud. You represent the finest mathematical minds in Illinois. Simply competing at this level is an achievement worthy of celebration." Nice words. True words. But nobody came here for participation trophies. They came here to win. We'll begin with team results, then move to individual honors. The director starts from the bottom, working his way up. 10th place goes to a school from Peoria, solid performance, respectable showing. 9th, 8th, 7th, each announcement met with polite applause. The Riverside Prep team sits together, holding their collective breath. Isaiah's hands are sweating. Sarah has her fingers crossed. Marcus is bouncing his leg nervously. 6th place. 5th place. Riverside still hasn't been called. Are they not even in the top 5? Did they completely bomb it despite feeling good about their performance? Isaiah feels his stomach dropping. 4th place goes to a STEM magnet school from Springfield, known for their mathematics program. 3rd place, a Chicago private school, one of Riverside's biggest rivals. Their team cheers, accepts their trophy. 2 spots left. 1st and 2nd. The Riverside team is either about to celebrate or be devastated, and there's no in-between. 2nd place with a score of 184 out of 200 points. The pause feels like it lasts a year. Riverside Preparatory Academy. The team erupts. They're hugging each other, jumping up. Sarah is crying happy tears. 2nd place out of 64 schools. That's incredible. That's beyond what most of them even hoped for. They make their way to the stage, accept their trophy, a beautiful thing, heavy and engraved with the competition name and year. Sarah holds it high, and the team clusters around it for a photo, all smiles and relief and joy. But the ceremony isn't over. Now for individual results, the director announces. We'll announce the top 10 scores. The team returns to their seats, trophy in hand, still riding high from their 2nd place finish. Individual results feel almost secondary now, a bonus on top of what they've already achieved. The director starts from 10th place, working his way up. Each name is called, each student walks to the stage, accepts their certificate and medal. Isaiah listens as the names are announced. 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th. His name hasn't been called. His heart sinks. Maybe he didn't even make the top 10. Maybe he made mistakes he didn't catch. Maybe that last problem wasn't solved correctly after all. 4th place is announced. Still not Isaiah. Then, 3rd place with a score of 102 points out of 120, Marcus Thompson, Riverside Preparatory Academy. Marcus leaps up, ecstatic, makes his way to the stage. The Riverside section cheers loudly. 102 points, that's an incredible score. Marcus accepts his medal with a huge grin. 2nd place with a score of 105 points, Sarah Kim, Riverside Preparatory Academy. Sarah's mouth drops open. She wasn't expecting this. She's shocked, delighted, practically floating to the stage. The Riverside team is going crazy now, 3rd and 2nd place in individual competition, 2nd place in team competition. This is the best performance Riverside has ever had at state. Isaiah applauds for his teammates, genuinely happy for them. But there's also disappointment settling in his chest. He didn't even make top 10. After all that preparation, all those sleepless nights, all that work, he didn't place. The director pauses before announcing 1st place. There's something different in his expression, a kind of significance that makes the room go quiet again. 1st place is particularly special this year, he says, his voice carrying a weight that makes people lean forward in their seats. The winning score is 118 out of 120 points. This is the highest individual score in the 27-year history of this competition. The auditorium goes completely silent. A record-breaking score. Someone just rewrote the history books. 1st place, Isaiah Carter, Riverside Preparatory Academy. Isaiah doesn't move. His brain refuses to process what his ears just heard. It's not possible. There must be a mistake. He's a freshman. He's been at this for months, not years. These other students have been training their entire lives. Sarah grabs his arm hard enough to leave a mark. Isaiah, that's you. Go. And suddenly everyone is looking at him, and the room is applauding, and his legs are moving almost on their own, carrying him to the stage. He walks in a daze, his mind spinning, trying to understand what just happened. The competition director shakes his hand, a firm grip that grounds Isaiah back in reality. Mr. Carter, congratulations. Your solution to problem 12 was exceptional. Our judges said it demonstrated graduate-level mathematical thinking. They've never seen anything quite like it from a high school student, let alone a freshman. He hands Isaiah a trophy, larger than the individual medals, beautiful and heavy, and a gold medal on a blue ribbon. Isaiah takes them with hands that won't stop shaking. The auditorium applauds. 300 students, dozens of teachers, parents in the balcony, all of them clapping for Isaiah Carter, the kid from the South Side who wasn't supposed to be here, who was told he might be out of his depth, who was accused of cheating just for being too good. Isaiah looks out into the audience and his eyes find Professor Theodore Whitmore. Whitmore is standing, not sitting and applauding politely but standing on his feet. And there are tears running down his face. Actual tears. He's applauding with everyone else, but his expression is something Isaiah has never seen before. It's not pride, not quite. It's something deeper. Recognition. Respect. Maybe even awe. Their eyes meet across the auditorium, and in that moment, something passes between them. An understanding. An acknowledgement that everything that came before led to this moment, and maybe, just maybe, it was all worth it. Outside the auditorium, the cool October air feels good on Isaiah's overheated face. He's holding his trophy, the medal around his neck, and he's still trying to process that this is real, that this actually happened. Isaiah. He turns and Rose is there. His grandmother, who took 2 buses and then walked 6 blocks to get here, who showed up just in time for the award ceremony because she couldn't afford to take the whole day off work but wasn't going to miss this for anything in the world. She's crying, her hands shaking as she reaches for him. Your mama would be so proud, baby. So proud. Rose pulls him into a hug, and Isaiah lets himself be held, lets himself be her grandson again instead of a record-breaking mathematician. She's looking down right now and she's smiling. I know she is. I wish she could be here, Isaiah says, his voice muffled against Rose's shoulder. She's here, baby. She's always been here. Every time you didn't give up, every time you kept going when it got hard, that was her in you. Miss Henderson is there too, standing a respectful distance away but beaming like she just won the lottery. When Rose finally releases Isaiah, Miss Henderson steps forward. I told you, she says, her voice thick with emotion. I told you that you had something special. The Riverside team surrounds him, celebrating together. Marcus lifts the team trophy high. Sarah puts her second-place medal next to Isaiah's first-place medal, takes a photo. History, she says. We just made history. Media representatives approach. Local news, educational publications, people with cameras and microphones who want to capture this moment, this story of the 14-year-old who broke records. Isaiah, how does it feel to be a record breaker? A reporter asks, microphone extended. Isaiah looks at his grandmother, at Ms. Henderson, at his teammates. I'm just glad I could contribute to my team. We all worked hard for this. What's next for you? Where do you see yourself going from here? Isaiah considers the question. 3 months ago, he would have said he just wanted to survive Riverside Prep. 2 months ago, he would have said he wanted to prove Whitmore wrong. 1 month ago, he would have said he wanted to win this competition. But now, standing here with the trophy in his hands and his grandmother's arm around his shoulders, he knows the answer is something bigger. I want to keep learning, he says. And I want to help other kids like me see that they can do this too. That they belong in these spaces just as much as anyone else. The reporter nods, scribbling notes. But before she can ask another question, a voice cuts through. Isaiah, may I speak with you? Professor Whitmore stands at the edge of the crowd, still looking slightly shell-shocked. Isaiah excuses himself from the reporter, walks over to meet him. They step aside, away from the celebration, into a quieter corner. What you accomplished today is extraordinary, Whitmore says, and his voice is different than Isaiah has ever heard it. Softer. Genuine. I need you to know that I was wrong about you. Profoundly wrong. Not just about your mathematical abilities, though clearly I misjudged those catastrophically. But about who you are as a person, about what you're capable of, about what you deserve. Isaiah nods slowly. Thank you, sir. Whitmore takes a breath, seems to gather his courage. I'd like to continue working with you if you'll allow it. Properly this time. As a mentor, not an obstacle. I can't undo the harm I've caused, but perhaps I can help you reach heights even greater than this. Isaiah considers this. Part of him wants to say no, to tell Whitmore he doesn't need him, doesn't want his help after everything. But another part, the part that sounds like his grandmother, like Miss Henderson, like his mother, knows that growth sometimes means accepting imperfect apologies and giving people chances to be better. I'd like that, sir, Isaiah finally says. They shake hands and this time it feels different. Not teacher and student. Not adversary and obstacle. Something closer to equals. Genuine respect between them now, hard-earned and real. Monday morning arrives and Riverside Preparatory Academy feels different. Or maybe Isaiah feels different walking through it. The hallways look the same, the lockers still line the walls, students still cluster in their usual groups. But something has shifted. There's a special assembly to honor the mathematics team. The entire student body gathers in the auditorium, freshmen through seniors, every student at Riverside Prep. Isaiah and his teammates sit on stage while the headmaster, Dr. Patricia Morrison, addresses the school. This weekend, our mathematics team achieved something extraordinary, she begins. Second place in team competition, second and third place in individual competition, and a first-place individual finish that broke a 27-year record. But more than the trophies and medals, this team has shown us what's possible when talent meets dedication, when students support each other, and when we commit to excellence in all its forms. The student body applauds. Isaiah sits there holding his trophy, still not quite believing this is his life now. Sarah sits next to him, her second-place medal around her neck. Marcus is grinning from ear to ear with his third-place certificate. In the audience, Isaiah can see Brett Hawthorne. The kid who made those first days at Riverside miserable, who whispered affirmative action and scholarship boy like they were insults. Brett isn't smirking anymore. He's not quite applauding enthusiastically, but he's not mocking either. He just looks normal. Like Isaiah is just another student who did something impressive. After the assembly, as students file out of the auditorium, Brett actually approaches Isaiah in the hallway. Marcus tenses next to Isaiah, ready to step in if needed, but Brett's body language isn't aggressive. "Hey Carter," Brett says, and there's something almost respectful in his tone. That was impressive. What you did. It's not quite an apology. It's not an acknowledgement of months of casual cruelty. But it's something. A recognition that Isaiah exists, that he matters, that he's not just the scholarship kid anymore but someone who earned his place through undeniable achievement. "Thanks," Isaiah says simply, because what else is there to say? Brett nods, awkward and unsure, then walks away. Marcus watches him go, then turns to Isaiah. "Character development," he mutters, and Isaiah actually laughs. Dean Stevens pulls Isaiah aside before he can head to his first class. "Isaiah, I wanted to let you know. We've had several universities reach out about you already. MIT, Stanford, Caltech. You're only in 9th grade, but they're already interested in tracking your progress." Isaiah's eyes widen. I don't know what to say. Dean Stevens smiles. "Say you'll keep being you. Keep working hard. Keep proving that excellence has no prerequisites. Not wealth, not connections, not the zip code you're from. You're showing a lot of students here, scholarship and legacy alike, what's possible when you refuse to let anyone define your limits. Before you click away, make sure you're subscribed because the end of this story will leave you inspired for weeks. And here's my question. Who believed in you before you believed in yourself? Drop their name in the comments and tell them thank you." 3 months pass. It's February 2024 now, and winter has settled over Chicago with that particular cold that makes you question all your life choices. But inside Riverside Preparatory Academy, in Professor Whitmore's Advanced Mathematics Seminar, it's warm. Isaiah is now the teaching assistant for the seminar. It was Whitmore's idea, proposed hesitantly in December, accepted by Isaiah after careful thought. He helps grade papers, explains concepts to struggling students, demonstrates problem-solving techniques. It's not required, doesn't count for credit, but Isaiah does it anyway because he's discovered something. He loves teaching almost as much as he loves learning. Today's seminar is covering advanced calculus, differential equations that make most of the students' eyes glaze over. Whitmore presents a particularly difficult problem, writes it on the board, steps back. Who would like to attempt this? The usual hands go up, Sarah, Marcus, a few of the seniors. But Isaiah notices someone who isn't raising their hand. A new student, Jamal Williams, 14 years old, black kid, scholarship student who just started at Riverside this semester. He's staring at the problem with the same expression Isaiah used to have, that mix of determination and fear, wanting to try but terrified of being wrong in front of everyone. Some students whisper when Jamal doesn't volunteer. Not loud, not mean, but that soft undertone of judgment that Isaiah remembers too well. After class, Isaiah catches up with Jamal in the hallway. "Hey, you got a minute?" Jamal looks up, eyes widening. "You're Isaiah Carter, the competition winner." "I'm also a kid from the South Side who thought he didn't belong here when I first started," Isaiah says. "I saw you looking at that problem Whitmore put up. Want some help with it?" Jamal's shoulders drop with relief. Yeah, I'd like that." They find an empty classroom, sit down with the problem between them. Isaiah doesn't just give Jamal the answer. He walks him through the thinking, asks questions that guide Jamal to discover the solution himself. It's exactly what Ms. Henderson did for Isaiah all those Saturday mornings, exactly the teaching style that helped him grow. "Wait," Jamal says, his pencil moving faster. "I think I see it. If you approach it from this angle." "Exactly," Isaiah encourages. "Keep going." From across the room, visible through the small window in the door, Professor Whitmore watches them. He's heading to his office when he notices the two students working together, Isaiah patiently mentoring Jamal the way Whitmore should have mentored Isaiah from the beginning. Whitmore stands there for a moment, watching, and something crosses his face. Not pride. He doesn't have the right to feel proud of this moment he didn't create. But recognition maybe. Understanding. He's witnessing Isaiah's true gift, and it's not just solving problems. It's lifting other people up, making the impossible feel possible, being the mentor he needed when he first arrived at Riverside. Whitmore walks away quietly, leaving them to their work. That evening, Isaiah sits at the kitchen table in his grandmother's apartment. The same table where he's done homework for years, where he studied for the competition, where he and Rose have shared thousands of meals. The trophy from the state competition sits on the shelf next to his mother's graduation photo. In the months since the competition, it's become just another part of the apartment's landscape, nestled between family photos and Rose's collection of ceramic angels. Rose is making dinner, her famous pot roast, Isaiah's favorite. The apartment smells like home, like safety, like everything good in the world. They sit down together, hold hands across the table the way they always do before eating, and Rose says grace. Thank you for this food, for this day, for this boy sitting across from me who makes every day a blessing. Amen. Amen, Isaiah echoes. They eat in comfortable silence for a while, the kind of silence that only comes from years of knowing each other completely. Then Rose sets down her fork, looks at her grandson. You know what your mama used to say? Isaiah shakes his head. Rose has hundreds of stories about his mother and he never gets tired of hearing them. She'd say, don't let the world make you smaller than you are. When people would try to put her in a box, tell her what she could or couldn't do, she'd remember that. Don't let them make you smaller. Rose reaches across the table, takes Isaiah's hand. You lived that, baby. When that professor tried to break you, when those students tried to make you feel like you didn't belong, you didn't shrink. You took up all the space you deserved. Isaiah squeezes her hand. I had good teachers. Especially you, Grandma. And you're becoming a good teacher yourself. I see you with that new boy, Jamal. You're doing for him what Miss Henderson did for you. What your mama would have done if she'd had the chance. They finish dinner. Isaiah helps with the dishes, drying while Rose washes, the same routine they've had for years. Afterward, Isaiah retreats to his room to do homework. On his desk, visible among the textbooks and notebooks, are new mathematics books, even more advanced than what he's studying in seminar. Graduate-level texts on topology, abstract algebra, number theory. A notebook lies open with equations that most high school students wouldn't recognize, problems Isaiah is working on just for fun, just to see if he can solve them. Because that's what Isaiah has discovered about himself. It's not about proving anything to anyone anymore. It's not about showing Whitmore or Brett or Riverside Prep that he belongs. It's about the pure joy of mathematics, the beauty of discovering patterns in chaos, the satisfaction of solving a problem that seemed impossible. He picks up his pencil, looks at the problem he's been working on and smiles. There's always another problem. Always another challenge. Always another mountain to climb. And Isaiah Carter, 14 years old, from the south side of Chicago, is ready for all of them. The screen fades slowly to black, but before it does completely, white text appears. Isaiah Carter continued to excel at Riverside Preparatory Academy, graduating as valedictorian 4 years later. At 16, he published his first mathematics paper in a peer-reviewed journal. He received full scholarship offers from MIT, Stanford, and Caltech, ultimately choosing MIT. Throughout high school and college, Isaiah committed himself to mentoring young students from underserved communities, running free weekend math workshops and online tutoring sessions. He often said his greatest achievement wasn't the competitions he won or the papers he published, but the students he helped believe in themselves. Professor Theodore Whitmore became one of Isaiah's strongest advocates, publicly acknowledging his early mistakes and using his influence to create more equitable pathways for talented students regardless of their background. Rose Carter lived to see her grandson graduate from MIT with highest honors. She passed away peacefully in her sleep at age 73, surrounded by photos of her family and a shelf full of her grandson's trophies and achievements. Isaiah Carter's story proves that genius has no zip code, no color, and no limit. It only requires opportunity, support, and the courage to keep going when everyone says you can't. This story was inspired by the real experiences of countless gifted students from underrepresented backgrounds who've had to work twice as hard to be seen as half as good. To every student still fighting to prove they belong, you do. You always did. Keep going. The story is over, but somehow, it's also just beginning.